Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here in beautiful Southern Ohio. Many of you, we saw your faces last year when we did this event over in Nelsonville, so we appreciate you following us and joining us in the southern part of the state today. We also have over 60 people virtual, so we're excited to have a full room and 60 people online joining us. We'll be following their chat throughout the day, and they'll be able to put questions in there as well. My name is Amiska Lippett, and I am the Director of External Relations and Strategic Partnerships at the Voinovich School of Leadership and Public Service at Ohio University. Ohio University, we have, our president actually has identified 5 priorities. One of them is service to the region. So the Voinovich School serves as the public service arm for the university. That also means I have the pleasure of having 2 jobs. So I also serve as the Executive Director of the Mayor's Partnership for Progress, which is a group of mayors and city managers in 18 counties in Southeast Ohio, soon to be 19, but don't promote that quite yet. I do believe we have our president here with us. I'm looking for him, President Patterson. Mayor Steve Patterson was here a minute ago from the city of Athens. We also have our vice president here, Mayor Lyle from New Concord, right there. If there is a mayor or city manager in this room that wants to get engaged and is not engaged with that group, come see any 3 of us today. We'll be happy to talk with you about that. Okay, I want to introduce our 4 local development districts partners in today real quick. If you can just stand up when I say your name. We'll start up north. Kathy, so Kathy's with Eastgate, had the farthest drive today probably. Jeanette, where's Vicky? With Omega. Chastity Schmelzenbach. Did I do that? Pretty good. Yeah. With Buckeye Hills, and then John Hemmings with OVRDC. And I just want to say thank you to John and Gina and his team. They hosted us last night for an evening reception and some events leading up to that. And it really, really was just pleasurable. So thank you, John, for all of your hospitality for us. Okay, so a few quick housekeeping items. Please silence your cell phones if you have not done that already. There is a QR code on the little flyer there in the middle of your tables. You can scan that. That will take you to the website. That will give you the full agenda, presenters, PowerPoints, etc. If anybody in the room is social media savvy and you decide to post about this terrific event today, please tag the Voinovich School and your local development districts. We'll be trying to reshare those. There are a couple tables out in the foyer, so when we take breaks, please help yourself walk through out there and you will gather a lot of good information that I want you to take home with you. The Wi-Fi probably is your biggest concern right now, right? And I need you to use the Shawnee Guest Wi-Fi. There's no password associated with it. Please use the Shawnee Guest Wi-Fi going forward. And then most importantly, when we get to the Q&A today, which we're gonna have a lot of Q&A, you need to wait until someone brings you the microphone that we have. Please wait, because otherwise our virtual audience will not hear what you have to say. So I'll be reminding you of that all day. So before we kind of kick this off, what I want to do to help us understand the dynamics in the room, I want to ask all of the folks in the room that are elected officials, raise your hands. Elected officials, raise your hands. Okay, keep them up. If you work in local government for an elected official or for the local government, raise your hands. Perfect. I wanted to see, there's a few people that are not raising their hands, just to be clear. I just wanted to kind of put the picture out there of the audience that we're working on and also the brain power that's in this room. There's a lot of public service going on with these people that are in this room, and we just want to say thank you for what you're doing every day. I tend to think of this phrase every morning when I go about my day. What got me here today will not get me there tomorrow. And so I say that what got me here today will not get me there tomorrow. I say that because I want to learn every day. And I hope that when you leave today that you will learn, you will have new ideas, you will have new connections. And so we are embracing a really exciting time. And if you walk out of here not learning a darn thing, then we have failed you. So I hope that you learn things that will get you to your tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to introduce our very first speaker for the day and get us started. Lydia Mahalik is the director of the Ohio Department of Development. She has created quite a name for herself. Prior to that position, she did work in Hancock County, generated millions of dollars in grants revenue, put that to good work. But I personally like to focus on the fact that she was the first female mayor for the city of Findlay and the youngest mayor at that time for the city of Findlay. So I think her heart is with all of you at the local government level, and we are really appreciative that she made the trip and to spend time with us today. So Lydia, welcome her to the stage.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be able to join you all this morning here in beautiful Portsmouth. It is gorgeous. The leaves are starting to change color, and it's just a great time to be able to make the drive. So thanks, Julie, for getting me here safe. We're going to have some fun in Southern Ohio, Southeast Ohio. This is the first stop of many. If you know anything about my boss, Governor DeWine, there is no rest. And we are all just trying to keep up with him lately. So we are here on behalf of him and Lieutenant Governor Husted to be able to say hello and talk to you a little bit about all of the work that we have been doing lately. But quite frankly, we are here to talk to you about the exciting investment that we are preparing to make specifically to help move Appalachia forward, specifically with our $500 million community and economic development grant program. And apparently there's a calendar on the table for some December events. There's Christmas donkeys. So I need to know where this is, because my children love Christmas. I particularly love Christmas, and who doesn't love donkeys? So where am I coming? Caldwell. Of course I'm coming to Caldwell. Downtown. Oh, I'm very disappointed, Director Carey, that you did not tell me about the Christmas donkeys. All of the love that I give you, and you did not give me love in return. I'm looking forward to it. Julie, let's put it on the calendar. Christmas donkeys, Caldwell. Well, as the governor has said, this is Ohio's time, and it really is an exciting time for our state. And thanks to the leadership of the governor and lieutenant governor, having an opportunity to work on behalf of all of you, Ohio is experiencing some unprecedented growth, and it's a direct result of the investments that this administration is making to be able to position Ohio as the best place to live and to learn and to work. And because we can't do all of those things and not have fun to play. Ohio has so many incredible places to call home. We have so many diverse landscapes, but to unlock the potential of every corner of our state, the DeWine Husted administration is following through on that commitment to invest in Ohio's communities. And that includes all 32 counties of Appalachia here in Ohio. Since 2019, this administration has invested more than $470 million in businesses, in communities, and in individuals across the region just through the Department of Development. And these investments have included things like water infrastructure, broadband, and other efforts in order to get this region on even footing. And, you know, quite frankly, we recognize that this region has some unique struggles that it has faced. And now, thanks to the support of our good friends in the Ohio General Assembly, we have an incredible opportunity to do so much more. At Development, we're working with Director Carey and his great team at the Governor's Office of Appalachia to roll out the Appalachian Community Grant Program. It is a historic $500 million investment that's going to help support local initiatives. That's going to help enhance the great quality of life that we know that exists right now and really help rebuild the economies of Ohio's 32 Appalachian counties. And the goal at the end of the day is to help your communities reach their full potential and help build a very bright future for the region. This is an area of our state that we know is ready to flourish. And we are focused on those three funding priorities that are going to have, we believe, the greatest impact: infrastructure, workforce, and healthcare. By focusing on these particular investments, we know it will benefit the region and help open up the door to new opportunities for future generations. As you are preparing for the official launch of the program, I encourage you to think really big. And I know the governor has said this on several occasions. So let your imaginations go. We are aiming for transformative change. And I know we have been throwing around that term, and I know you've had some time to think about this, and that has been intentional. So bear with us as we have been putting the final touches on this program. We want you to be bold. We want you to be able to join forces with your partners and be ready to really make the most of the opportunity that we all have been given here together. At Development, as we like to say, we are here to help. And so I encourage you to take advantage of the available resources that are here to be able to help refine your ideas and develop your plans and work through your applications. And that includes working with your incredible partners here, obviously at the local development districts. They are great. We are very fortunate. This is not a secret. As I have said over the last 4 years, we are very fortunate to have Director Carey leading the governor's office of Appalachia. I have said very many times, and he hates it when I say it, but I always say that Director Carey is the governor's best appointment. And he and his team are prepared to help answer your questions and guide you through this process. So, amidst all of you, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. We are looking forward to working with all of you to make the greatest impact possible, not only through this investment, but through many investments to come. You all are working so incredibly hard. And we know that this is complex, and we know that this opportunity is one that we will not miss taking one hell of a shot at. So thank you very much for all the work you do on behalf of the state of Ohio. So now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the man, the legend, John Carey. Thank you very much.
Well, how would you like to follow that speech? Thank you, Mista, for inviting us today. And thank you, Director Mahalik, for your kind remarks. And Director Mahalik has really engaged herself, of course, in the whole state, but she's really engaged herself in the Appalachian region, learning to understand, developing connections with all of you. We were in Ashtabula County. We're having like in Ashtabula County today. But we were in Ashtabula, the northernmost part of Appalachia, last 10 days or so. And now we're in the southernmost part of Appalachia, or close to it. And so it's something that's a rural priority with both the governor, lieutenant governor, Director Mahalik, and we all feel a lot of responsibility to make sure that we get this $500 million right. I think Representative Edwards, who's talking to the Mayor's Partnership, he talked about this is a great opportunity for us, but it'll be on all of us to work together to make it work. We feel that urgency and responsibility too for this $500 million to make transformative change in our region. We had a great event, participated in the Ohio Southeast Economic Development MAO conference. And as Director Mahalik mentioned, we're very close to getting the guidelines and scoring rubric. Julia will tell you everything you need to know in her session. I do want to take a moment to introduce our team from the Governor's Office of Appalachia. If you three will stand. Austin Ward is a graduate of Benton County, went to Ohio State University. He's been with us for 3 years now. We have an update that we can present you, so you won't miss any information. I think almost all of you are on it. But if you're not on that update list and want to know how to connect, see Austin or Madison Knight, who works for us. Madison is from Wheelersburg here inside of the county, graduated from Shawnee State, and she's been with us for a couple of months. She jumped right into the frying pan, is doing a fantastic job. And Julia Hinton is a native of Chesapeake, and she's been in development for over 20 years, but she is our chief of staff and program manager, is doing a great job. So take advantage of these resources and make sure that you connect with them today. Thank you, Lisa. We're joined by our local development districts, and I missed already introduce them, but their staffs are here as well. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the local development districts. It's just that simple. They're great partners. Other states envy what we're able to do in Ohio because we work together and we have great teams and great connections. And of course, local development districts are only great because they have local officials supporting them and enabling them to do their work. So I wanted to talk about them. They also have great resources available for this grant to help you think about it, help convene those sessions, those partnership sessions you're thinking about. So I encourage you to think part of that. I also want to recognize Ohio University and Shawnee State University. They're doing some asset mapping for us. And it's just one very small example, all the great things that we do with our university partners in the region. And we've done other projects with them, and they're always willing to do it and always willing to help. And we're really appreciative of that. So like Chris Schaefer from Shawnee State, Matt Trainer from OU, and Elk Kim from OU's to stand up so we can recognize them for their help with this asset mapping, which will help this project. So I'm not going to delay the start of your conference any further. I think it's going to be great information, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. I would just say, just take this opportunity to network. You want to talk to the people in other counties that may be doing something that you could learn from. And I'm sure there's opportunity that they could learn things from you. Sometimes we don't realize the value of things we're doing because we're just doing it. But sharing your experiences and your challenges can be really helpful as you think about this historic opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Mahalik and Director Carey. We really appreciate you making the time today. So with that, we are going to get into our first panel. And I'm going to ask Jeanette Worsbicki to make her way to the stage, and also the panelists that are on this first panel. Go ahead and make your way up. Jeanette will introduce the panelists, but as she's finding her way up here, hopefully the panelists are standing up. I don't see anybody moving. As she's making her way up, I do want to kind of give her a shout out because she was recently named one of the top 500 influential people in the state of Ohio by Columbus Business. So congratulations, Jeanette.
Thank you so much, Mista, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Southern Ohio. Just wish we came in late last night, so we didn't get to enjoy the beauty of this part of the state, but we're looking forward to our drive home this evening. Appalachia is definitely the most beautiful part of Ohio. I may be prejudiced, and even though I am in Southern Ohio, I think the Omega region is the best. But I am very excited to moderate this panel. Director Mahalik and Director Carey talked about the Appalachian Community Grant Program. And I think the development of the trail systems throughout the Appalachian region are going to be a great asset and can be a great part of some of the applications or projects that we've talked with our regions about. So with me today, I'm very excited to introduce Jesse Powers, who is the Executive Director of the Bailey's Trail System, and Dylan Sayer from the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District, who is their Trails Coordinator. And I don't think that Mayor Tom Johnson from Somerset is here yet. Is that correct, Anissa? Okay, all right. So he will be joining us as well. But with that, and as Mr. mentioned, if you would like to learn more about the speakers, just use the QR code on the table. But I would like to turn it over to Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's great to be here this morning as we embark in this new stage of unprecedented investment for the region, which happens to coincide with an increasing realization that strategic and sustainable outdoor recreation infrastructure development improves rural economies and adds much needed resilience. We are the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia, or ORCA. And we are managing the Bailey's Trail Systems development in the Wayne National Forest in Athens County, Ohio. So as ORCA, we are a council of governments, so multiple jurisdictions joining together for one purpose, and that purpose is to do what we believe, which is sustainable outdoor recreation diversifies rural economies. So our organization was founded with understandings and practical knowledge of rural economic challenges, how our unique rural assets present opportunities for rural areas, and how trails add much needed economic resilience and combat challenges associated with poverty and lack of resources. Next slide, please. So has anyone heard of the Bailey's Trail System? All right, we're working. So just in case you haven't, the Bailey's Trail System is a planned 88-mile mountain bike optimized trail system on over 9,000 acres of the Wayne National Forest. It is designed to be a top-tier trail system. So we are talking about a significant mountain bike destination for Appalachian and the state of Ohio. Once complete, will be one of the longest trail systems across the east of the Mississippi River. And really, we are using professional trail design and trail builders to build trails that are sustainable and going to catalyze visitation to the region. So as we are doing the work with the Bailey's Trail System, we employ a holistic approach to sustainable outdoor recreation development, which enables us to build a broad coalition of supporters, which has increased our ability to secure much needed investment to do this development work. So we need to work across disciplines and use a variety of expertise to do this. We realize that while the recreation asset and the trail is significant, it is not the end game. We need a plan to manage that, that's going to be sustainable and engage folks in stewardship. We need to market it. We work with our Convention and Visitors Bureau to do that work, as well as other partners. And as we bring new visitors to the region, we want to make sure that locals are able to start new businesses, expand businesses, and have the technical support needed to do so. We realize that many of our rural economy or communities don't have the infrastructure that's appropriate for world-class destinations. So there's another reason there that we need to coordinate our planning. And as we're doing all this work and securing investment for these assets, how do we integrate strategic and traditional economic development in a greater way to expand our opportunities? So we think of our work not as a trail project, but a strategic asset-based economic development and diversification initiative that really starts with a local collaboration. So that's just one list of the folks and stakeholders that are on our planning team and have been throughout this process in developing the Bailey's Trail System. We've really come together around the regional asset, which was this underutilized 9,000 acre tract of land in the Wayne National Forest. And we've engaged in multidisciplinary strategic planning to ensure that we deliver the maximum amount of benefits available. And then we work together as multiple partners to secure investments from infrastructure for the trails, the communities, as well as programming and support for entrepreneurs and locals to ensure that we have all the investment that we need to build local wealth and deliver economic, social, health, and environmental benefits. So what does this look like? Real quickly, our community engagement and local collaboration around a regional asset is built on decades of public-private partnerships that built things like the Hockhocking-Edina Bikeway, which is 23 miles long and it's taken decades to build. And what we're looking at here is that 9,000 acres that's underutilized in the Wayne National Forest. And these are our economic projections for this project. This is our use of this existing asset with the overlay of the Bailey's Trail System as planned. This is how it spurred public investment into the community infrastructure and connecting to those 3 adjacent communities in the Bailey's Trail. Really, this work has optimized conditions that enable the private sector to build wealth. And so what we're seeing that look like around the Bailey's Trail System today is new lodging companies, Airbnbs, property transfers, an old school's been purchased and is being renovated. You know, we're hosting kids from across the state for mountain bike races in our community in Athens County and having a lot more activity at the park than we've seen before. So that was really quick and a lot, and I'll be here all day. So look forward to connecting. Thank you.
And we'll have plenty of time for questions afterwards, but I'd like to now introduce Dylan Sayer, the Trails Coordinator for Muskegon Watershed.
My name is Dylan Sayer. I'm the Trails Coordinator for the Muskegon Watershed Conservancy District. Director Butler is supposed to come here, but I'm subbing in instead, so hopefully I do well. So I'm here to talk about our trail system, which is kind of new to the district. We've always had trails within the Muskegon Watershed around our parks and on our property, but we really never emphasized those trails. Last year, I started in September in this new position. I'm the Trails Coordinator, and we also have a Trails Technician. So we are the 2 full-time staff that's dedicated solely to our trail system. So those of you that are aware of who we really are as a watershed or as a conservancy district, just a quick overview, we are the largest fully contained watershed in the state of Ohio. We cover about 1/5 of the state, or 8,000 acres, and cover a portion or all of 22 counties. And then we manage about 57,000 acres for public use. There are some restricted use areas. Those are recreational lakes. Some of those you may be familiar with, mostly in the eastern part of the state, and then some in the east central. All of those lakes, with the exception of Willis Creek, do have campgrounds and marinas at them, which we've recently put a lot of money into and renovating. To date, I think it's around 130 or 103 million in the past 10 years that we've put the renovations there. Back in 2016, like I said, we emphasized trails in our parks. So they developed our trails blueprint, and that lays out how we go about developing, managing, and maintaining our trail system. This will be accomplished by staff like myself, as well as volunteers, other organizations such as OHC, mountain bike clubs, organizations like that, and contractors as well. Right now, we're in the process of renovating and maintaining our current trails that we have. A lot of them were not designed to be trails originally. They were logging trails, whatever the park staff had time to put in at the time, whatever it may be. So they were not sustainably built trails. So we're going through and fixing drainage issues. I'm not sure what happened there. Drainage issues, doing reroutes, and updating our signage currently. There we go. We're also making connections to major regional trails within the area, and I'll get to that here in a second on what those trails are, as well as diversifying and developing new trails. Next slide. So these are the regional trails that are within our watershed. The blue line is the outline of our the Muskegon River watershed, and the other lines there are the regional trails. Those include the Buckeye Trail, which is a 1,400-mile long-distance hiking trail that goes around the state. They're a major partner of ours. The Ohio and Erie Towpath and Ohio to Erie Trail are two of them. Just a snapshot of what we currently have. MWCD, about 28 miles of hiking and biking trails that we currently maintain, mostly around our parks. The Buckeye Trail has a large portion within the watershed, as I said before, over 300 miles. That's on-road and off-road, and there's about 29 miles specifically of off-road trail on our properties that we own. We have about 14 miles of equestrian trails, mostly at Pleasant Hill Park in north central Ohio, some down in the Conesville AEP area as well, and then 290 miles of state-designated scenic water trails. And I wanted to give you guys a project that we're currently working on to show kind of the standard that we're setting moving forward with our trail system. And this will kind of reiterate some of the things that Jesse has already talked about, as it's a similar model to what they have done down at Bailey's Trail. So our Wills Creek Coshocton Forest property is about just under 8,000 acres. It's a remote property that's mostly strip mine and deep mine historically. And currently it's used for hunting, fishing, birding, things like that. This is an outline of our property. We recently acquired about 3,000 acres, and we're working on acquiring more in that area. The rest of the property in that area is owned by AEP and ODNR as well. And AEP is looking to get rid of some of that property. And so the northern sections of this property are fairly new to us within the past year or two. And this is the area that we're focusing on developing. So what's our plans for this area? A couple weeks ago, we actually just submitted an AMLR grant for a few $1 million to put in a campground and a multi-use trail system. The first phase that we're asking for money for will actually be purpose-built mountain biking trails, primarily with the option to hike as well, similar to Bailey's. So the campground will be primitive sites, no water, electric to the sites, trailhead parking, pit-style restrooms, picnic pavilion, and a pump track. This is an overview of kind of the conceptual layout of things. The green area there is our campground and trailhead parking, as well as the pump track. We're actually utilizing an abandoned well pad that's about 6 acres. It's actually the only flat area in that area. So we're trying to utilize that space as best we can. The rest of those dotted lines there are the 15 miles of proposed trails for this space. This is a conceptual drawing of what we're proposing for the campground and trailhead area. So in that top portion of the triangle, those are camp lots with the pavilions kind of centered there between. And then down to the bottom right, you have the trailhead parking with room to expand, a couple pump tracks, shade pavilion, pit toilets. And then also we've included a helicopter pad. Obviously, it's a remote location, so we put that in there in case they need to extract somebody, which will also be a benefit to the local residents for medical services. This is a conceptual layout of the trails. As of right now, like I said, this property is very new to us. There's a lot of thick vegetation. It takes a long time to go through. So these are just that. They are very conceptual, and they're actually between a lot of high walls. We're not only submitting for an AMLR grant to develop these trails, we're also working with ODNR for AML funds as well to help reclaim some of these sites and make them more usable. Future plans after this initial phase, we are looking to add additional miles of trail to the project. There is a lot of property, and so we're not sure how many miles of trail that may be or where we want to end up yet, because this is a new idea. We actually joke with Jessie all the time that she has 88 miles of trail planned. We plan on doing 89 just to kind of beat her, but yeah, we really aren't sure how many we'll end up with. So we'll build more trail based on funding available. And then we also plan to try to make connections to local communities and provide alternative transportation to and from the trail system. We also want to partner with those local communities and do what you guys are doing to try to be an economic driver in the region. One of the main things I think that will happen is creating a trail club to help promote the trail system and maintain as well. And then that way we can hopefully hold trail events as well. And then lastly, as you all know, just some of the community benefits that comes from a project like this. It provides a new avenue of outdoor recreation for the local residents, as well as pulling people from the outside to be that economic driver for the region. It also promotes being a healthier community through physical activity. And then, the revenue for the local businesses, as well as the creation of new businesses that aren't currently there. There's no bike shops or outdoor recreational stores in the area currently. So, and I didn't mention before, this is in Coshocton County. It's about 20 minutes southeast of the city of Coshocton is where this would take place. So, thank you.
So while we're waiting for Mayor Johnson, let's open it up for questions. And since I'm sitting up here, I get to ask the first one. Jesse and Dylan, one of the things that you both mentioned was collaboration and working with local communities. And that's going to be a key aspect of this Appalachian Community Grant Program. So can each of you explain how you developed those collaborative partnerships? Because sometimes it may be difficult to work with our neighbors.
Are you guys, I think we're both councils of governments. Right. Okay. So yeah, we by mandate are working on a project or an initiative that serves multiple jurisdictions. So what we always focus on when working with communities is what is the benefit for your community? So we have communities that have given up their 100-acre trailhead or their 100-acre park that was a former active coal mine site to be our primary trailhead. And what they have in return now is parking, public restroom, pump track, really a great asset for their community. And it's also, encourages those folks in that community that are adjacent and connected to the trail system now to have a healthier and more active lifestyle.
There we go. And for the watershed, as far as being an economic driver and helping those communities, our director could speak better to this, but I know we've talked about this trail system. We can help facilitate other grants for the local, for townships, for EMS, things like that. That would help those local, communities in other ways. There's a local company that makes rescue vehicles for remote extraction in New Philadelphia, Ohio, that we have connections with. That's one thing that we've discussed. Something as simple as cell phone service, helping with funding to get cell phone towers put in that location because that's just not available. And that would obviously benefit the local residents as well. So.
It can be something as simple as sidewalks. Our community of 1,000 people that intersected by 2 state routes with 4,000 and 5,000 average daily traffic counts didn't have sidewalks. But as the premier trailhead of the world-class recreation asset, the Bailey's Trail System, sidewalks are required. And they also help that community.
Thank you. Can you both maybe expand a little bit more too? You touched briefly on some of the economic development aspects. Can you maybe do a deeper dive into that and some of the benefits? And Dylan, I know that you've done a lot of research with similar facilities out in Arkansas, was it? So maybe kind of explain some of those benefits as well.
Yeah, so the two trail systems that we're talking about, Bailey's and this trail system of Wolves Creek, we're talking about what we would say are world-class mountain biking trails. And there's a difference between a mountain biking trail and world-class, and definitely with funding and creating those, there's a big difference. But one, I guess the best example would be in Northwest Arkansas. If anybody's familiar with those trail systems down there, 2007, they had 5 miles of mountain biking trails. By 2017, I think they had 1,100 miles of mountain biking trails. It's funded by the state as well as the Walton family, so they have a lot of money to dump into that system. But as far as an economic driver, some of the numbers that they provided, by 2017, they estimated that trail system had provided $187 million in benefits to those communities. From 2017 to 2022, they'd estimated those numbers had doubled. So that's in 5 years that number had doubled. And that just kind of shows the power that these trail systems can have. There are people that are moving to this area in Arkansas, Bentonville specifically, because of the trail system, and then they'll find a job once they get there. Like, that's how much these trails mean to these people and how nice they are. So that's kind of the goal that we're going after and what we want to do. And I think it's hard to understand until you go there and look and see the development that's happening. There was not an empty stretch of street or anything that was not being built on because of these trails and the businesses that were there because of them.
Jesse, I know you've received an ARC Power grant and have been extremely successful, especially developing that entrepreneurship. If you can maybe do a deeper dive on that.
Sure. So I think that, the destination that a world-class recreation asset creates, that visitation, there's a new market there. So there's an opportunity to serve those new visitors. They're going to want to eat and recreate afterwards, and they're not going to ride their bikes the entire time. We really have been working with our partners that do entrepreneur support every day, and they do things like Airbnb workshops. And we've had workshops for what kind of bike gear the local convenience store should sell. Those types of things are what we try to provide throughout the region, and I think that's something that can be replicated across areas and recreation sectors. What we see is these destinations become a center of gravity that then attracts those new people, creates those new businesses. It results in a community vibrancy and an overall overwhelming destination experience like you see in Western North Carolina with a fully developed outdoor recreation economy. And we really see that in that area specifically driving into small scale manufacturing and onshoring of jobs back in this country. So it's an exciting time to be working in this area.
I also think it's very exciting. I think when Muskegon Watershed develops their system, it's going to be great to market both to world-class mountain bike riding facilities. What a great opportunity for our region. So I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience.
We need 2 mountain bike trail systems, and they're going to have different flavors and be really cool, and you're going to want to do both.
Thanks for these great presentations. Am I correct that you both are Council of Governments or just Jesse's organization?
So MWC is considered a political subdivision.
Okay, that I think I kind of knew that. Then I think my question is more for Jesse. When you were working on building this, how did you decide that Council of Governments was the right structure for you, and how did you go about doing that, as opposed, for example, to creating a 501c3 or something?
So while the Bailey's Trail System trails are primarily on the National Forest, the trailheads are intentionally in the 3 adjacent communities. So we needed a way to work across those jurisdictional boundaries. So something like a Parks District or a Council of Governments could be one of those solutions. And we do, so as a political subdivision, a Council of Governments, we are eligible for all those same public investments that local governments are. And that's really what we felt we needed to develop a recreation asset of this caliber. But we also need that flexibility of a nonprofit. So while we are a Council of Governments, we've created a nonprofit partner that works closely with us and provides that flexibility and allows us to do things like private impact investment, social enterprise creation. So both are very beneficial.
It's like we have a question on the chat, so we're going to see here. What tools or formulas do you use to estimate economic and business impact on your community?
We have had surveys done. Ohio University has created an impact analysis report, and we are working now to get a contract with a data collection third party that will provide some good cell phone data, and really eager to see what that looks like.
I guess the one other question that I would have is concerning maintenance. In Guernsey County, where I live, we have about a 7-mile multi-use path that is owned and maintained by the local Community Development Corporation. And they do a series of fundraising events for maintenance so we keep the trail mowed. And then also when they need to resurface the trail, they have those funds available. So what advice can you give folks for maintaining the trail system?
So what we're working on as we're building 88 miles of natural surface dirt trail in Appalachia and have to maintain that forever, we really are very intentional in involving our community in shared stewardship. So our local NICA team, youth in the area, we really feel that the more connections, the more that we can provide to our community and have them use that and engage with us. So we have a sustainable maintenance director on staff at Orca, and that's their job. It's really to create those events, and we are teaching, the top-notch professional trail building standard and transferring those skills and providing pre-work pre-employment opportunities, which we know are very crucial to our youth.
Yeah, I think it's important to show there's kind of power in numbers, and that's why volunteers are so important with trails. Even though we have full-time staff dedicated to this, we currently manage about 30 miles of our trails ourselves without any other outside groups, and it takes a lot of time. For instance, we just cleared 180 feet of trail at Mohican last week that took us 6 hours for 2 guys. Granted, it was a lot of work, it was a lot of blowdowns, but it just takes a lot of time. So the more people you can get involved, and they have a sense of pride in that trail system as well. If you have a trail group such as a mountain bike club or whatnot, their response time is usually better because, they can have a Facebook page, somebody puts there's a tree down, and they're out there to clear it because they want, they have a pride for that trail and want to be open to the public and for people to enjoy. And so I think it really just takes a team to perform the maintenance on these trails.
I was at a meeting in Belmont County yesterday and talking about the Appalachian Community Grant Program. And one of the things that a group is working on is developing a gravel road bike system. And they thought, especially in the more rural areas of the county, that would also be a great way to connect different communities together. They talked about connections with Monroe County, with Wayne Forest. Jesse or Dylan, do you guys have any experience with gravel road biking?
Personally, but the gravel riding is a absolutely growing sport, and it's really great for us. So our natural surface trails that we cannot close by mandate of the National Forest, we have routes that are available online where you can take off from our trailhead and take a really nice gravel route. And those folks in Southeast Ohio, they know the riches that the gravel routes behold. So this is a really great opportunity, and those existing roads are really loved by that user group. And I like that idea.
As Jesse said, it is growing. There's actually a gravel circuit of races, and fortunately for me, we have a development committee, and one of those members, her husband, is heavily involved in that, and so I would actually look towards her for information on that. But our location at Wills Creek, there are a lot of township roads, and they're actually very well maintained. Probably the best township roads I've ever seen. For whatever reason, every time I go out there, they're freshly graded. So we actually talked about, once we get this trail system in place, that may be something we add, is kind of a gravel circuit or a gravel race to bring more focus to that area.
So go ahead, Nissa.
We do have another question or two here in the chat, if you don't mind. So how can adjoining regions, when developing project concepts for the Ohio Appalachian Community Grant Program, provide a vision how areas within a geographic scope of both Wayne Forest, Bailey's Forest, and the Muskingum Conservancy Watershed District can interface and integrate to make this a region-wide asset?
So Jeanette mentioned earlier that Orco received a power grant in 2021. So we have actually hired consultants that are working now, and we've met with stakeholders in, I believe, 9 of our 10 counties, maybe 8. And potentially, we have the potential to grow that footprint, but we are working through funds secured in the power grant to develop a region-wide recreation asset assessment and development plan. So while that might not extend all the way to Dylan's neck of the woods, it's definitely a public-facing document that we want to share. And, we really want to share this, across the region. And we think that the Appalachian Community Grant Program is going to kind of provide an opportunity for us to have those region-wide conversations around our high-level assets and how we develop a strategy to connect them.
Just so I'm clear, they're asking how we can collaborate to promote both those regions. So one way that this can be accomplished is there's an organization at the state level, AMBA, the director is Ralph Rupi. And so I work with him, as well as the trail system up in the Mohican State Forest, which is already an AMBA designated epic destination. And so you'd have Bailey's, Wills Creek, and Mohican, all three as destinations. And we would all have connections between myself, Jesse, and Alma as well. So.
And I guess I would just like to add, as Director Carey mentioned, there are 4 local development districts represented in the room this morning. So we would be a great resource as well to help make those connections. We all work very closely together. We talk at least once every 2 weeks, most often more frequently than that. So the local development districts would be your connection. And you know, you're just talking about gravel roads to connect to the mountain bike areas. You can also do shared use paths to connect to the mountain bikes area. You can do a cultural or a food trail to provide that connection. So I think the biggest thing is collaboration and communication. And I know both Jesse and the watershed are great partners for all of us.
Okay, I'm looking at the time. We've got one more question in the chat, so we'll do that and then close it out. Drawing people into our region to visit and invest in our local communities is important. It also raises concerns that outside developers will buy property and keep the economic wealth instead of businesses and properties being owned and operated by local people. How do we ensure that resulting economic investments in these projects stay local?
Zoning. I know people have prickles about it, but that is the tool that local government has to dictate how they want their community to grow. We have seen this put in place in our community of 1,000 people that's home to the primary trailhead, and they've already been able to say, no, you may not purchase a block of our residential area for your box store. So that's really the tool that the state has given all of us at the local government level to control that.
All right, well, please join me in giving a round of applause to our 2 panelists, Jesse and Philip.
Thank you all. That was a terrific panel. So we'll move on to the next panel. I'm excited to bring up to the stage Kathy Zook, another one of these local development districts that if you don't know them, you better know them by the end of the day, as you heard from everybody. So Kathy, please join us and introduce your panel.
Well, good morning. As Anista and I think John Kerry mentioned earlier that I traveled probably the farthest distance to come to the conference today. And I have to say, I really enjoyed seeing the fall foliage and OVRDC hosting the event last night. I spent the day in Portsmouth looking at the beautiful flood wall with the murals that explain the history of the region. So I'm really glad that I had a chance to do that. And as I was viewing the murals, there's so many people from both in the area and outside the area coming to view it. So I do see it as a tourism and income generator. So thank you for that opportunity. And now I have the privilege of having today's panel, which is Big Visions for Downtown Revitalization. So please, I hope I'm not the only one on the stage. I would like to introduce my panelists. And as they come up and have a seat, we have Mayor Misty Wells. She is the mayor of the Village of Caldwell. And we also have Jeanette Stewart, or Gwen Stewart, pardon me. She is our educator for community development at OSU Extension. We also have Mayor Luke Feeney. He is the mayor of the city of Chillicothe. And also Lance Willard. He is the city manager for the city of Columbiana. And I myself, I'm serving double duty on this panel because not only am I the moderator, but I'm also a panelist. But I'm excited to have our group here. They have some really great stories to share about what they're doing in their communities to transform and improve the downtown revitalization within their region. So I will kick us off. And what I have for you today is a video that we would like to show. It's called Our River of Opportunity. And to steal the words of Director Mahalik, go big. So this is our vision that is involving 5 of our cities. So we have a regional outlook. Do believe it's going to be transformational. And first, I'd like to give you a little background of the river. The Mahoning River spans between Trumbull and Mahoning County. And, excuse me, during its lifetime, it gave its life actually for the support of the steel industry. There was 9 dams along the river, and that meandered through the 5 cities. And up until the 70s, the life of the river was given to support the steel mills. So unfortunately, the river was used to take in that water, and then it came back in, it was polluted. Sometimes the temperatures was as high as 100 degrees in the river. Well, in the 70s, the steel mills left us, but the dams remained. So now through collaboration and partnerships, we are working with our communities to take out those dams. And this is a plan that started about 10 years ago. And I'm happy to say that we have removed of the 9 dams, 2 have already been removed. And that was a cost of about $20 million. And now we have funding to remove 5 of those dams, and that's in excess of about $13 million. And we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers as a work in progress to remove the last 2 dams. And we are extremely excited about this opportunity, a once in a lifetime generational opportunity through the DeWine administration and our legislature that have passed the Appalachian Community Grant Program, that $500 million. Well, as our executive director, Jim Kinnick always says, you got to have a plan. So we do have a plan, whether it's feasibility studies or working with consultants. This project has come through in phases over the years. And what we want to do for the downtown revitalization is connect our downtowns to outdoor recreation. This will spur entrepreneurs and support our existing businesses, improve community health for those that live in the area and those who want to come and visit our area. We want to make our region a place to live, work, and play. So with that, I'd like to start our video, and please enjoy. Well, I hope I'm not living up to my reputation of being called mayhem as John Hemmings is looking back at me. We'll try to give it a shot. If not, we'll just move on to another speaker.
So we'll get to you after that here.
Let's call up our next panelist that'll come as a tag team, which is Gwen Stewart and Mayor Wells.
My name is Misty Wells. I'm the mayor of the village of Caldwell, and I'm actually really excited that Mayor Feeney is sitting beside me because he literally helped me make my vision and my dream for Caldwell come to light. So I wanted an ice skating rink. We attended my first mayor's partnership meeting. I wanted an ice skating rink. Luke had an idea on how to get the funding, and it worked out. Scrambled around, pulled it together in 3 weeks. No clue what I was doing, and it literally has been transitional. Like, it has been exactly what we needed to make all of our visions come true. We have our downtown revitalization plan ready. We have been 5 businesses during the pandemic, and as far as our Christmas efforts, the towns inside us are now doing the same thing. So I'm gonna let Gwen kind of head up what we've done.
Sure. We do have some slides, I think. We started with if you go to the next slide, a First Impressions program, which is a program of Ohio State University Extension. If you've ever wondered what complete strangers to your community think, the First Impressions opportunity gives you a planning document. What you do is your community kind of partners up with a sister community. In our case, we worked with WVU and sister city New Martinsville, West Virginia. And you really kind of have secret shoppers that kind of swap in those communities. They spend a day, come talk to your residents, look at your parking, look at your restaurants, things to do. Can they find you online? Can they get good directions on their cell phones? That type of thing. And then at the end of the day, you get a great report. So we really started with that. And then the mayor took some really easy, low-hanging fruit ideas from that plan and began to do some downtown changes. And we were also able to get a revitalization planning project through Buckeye Hills during the CARES Act process. That was really the impetus of our larger planning process. And then one portion of that plan looked at, we do have a historic district in downtown Caldwell. It did look at a particular iconic building there that you see in the corner. Many of you might have these International Order of Odd Fellows buildings in your communities. Third floor ballroom that's really not being utilized, and there's a courtyard there between the two buildings. The mayor and I were fascinated with the courtyard last night because that's a great opportunity for that space. And then because of some initial planning in that downtown plan, we were able to secure an opportunity with Opportunity Appalachia for that building and that kind of vicinity between it and the jail museum, which is owned by the commissioners next door to it. And then we've also been paying a lot of attention to Heritage Ohio's Main Street process and learning more about that and getting Caldwell engaged in that process. Next slide. So our plan really does look at wayfinding and placemaking. If you don't know Caldwell, we're in Noble County. We're located on I-77, north-south, exit 25, and we also have exit 28 in Bell Valley. If you GPS Caldwell, it often brings you off of the Bell Valley exit. So it's important for us to get better wayfinding and placemaking options at those exits so you can find your way to Caldwell. Obviously, it has a historic preservation process with the plan, streetscaping, and also a lot of programming. As the mayor is very excited, she has a lot of programming and event ideas. We're talking about things like parking and EV enhancements. We're located on the Appalachian Byway of Ohio. It's a multi-county byway. There is only one EV charger on that 105+ mile byway. So Caldwell does need to be a part of that. Caldwell did a branding process, so now they have an iconic logo and a process for branding themselves. We also have a trails plan attached to this downtown plan that would provide a trail on the old riverbed or the rail bed from Caldwell up to Bell Valley, and then hope to connect on up to our DNR park, Wolf Run, because there's a lot of opportunity just to connect the people who visit that park down to the downtown. Also, enhancing the Wi-Fi in the downtown Caldwell area. So those are kind of the iconic themes of our downtown plan that we have ready and hope to have funded. Next slide, please. This slide just gives you an idea of the historic district. So there'll be some signage and wayfinding, also gate wayfinding. As you come off the exit 25, you really wouldn't know downtown Caldwell is so close. There's really no signage. So thinking about, what could we do at those state routes 78 and 821 to guide you into the downtown, so you could spend the afternoon looking at some of the shops, as she said, and some of the restaurants and things. So those are some of the things that we're planning. Next slide. And then we'll let the mayor talk about some of the other enhancements, quality of life enhancements. Mr. sent out a great article about quality of life, and Caldwell is definitely in alignment with that article in that, people maybe make a lower wage in our area and housing costs are higher, but they live there and stay there because of the quality of life.
So quality of life wasn't really something council was on board with. I guess I kind of go at toss that I like to spend a lot of money, but in everything that we're doing, it has brought so many people into our town, and literally everyone is investing in it. Our local bank is one of our biggest funders of our projects, and every time we do something, I have business in mind. I want them to thrive. I want people to come shop in our stores. We were very well visited for our ice skating rink. And I have all the calendars of events. My goal this year is to have people stay in our hotels. The week of the 17th is jam-packed. Come to Caldwell. You're going to be able to go to Cambridge, and I want to connect all of us because we can be a weekend destination. Of course, I want you to stay in Caldwell, not Cambridge. But we're partnering with them to do deals. Like we have talked about this, so you're going to be able to get carriage rides in your chocolate package and a wreath making workshop. So we're trying to. We are a cute little Hallmark town, and we're trying to plan that manufacturing. Even though we're right where we're at, without rail because, it's not coming our way. So we're going to monopolize what we have, and we are a huge homework town. So thank you.
So up next, Luke Feeney, Mayor of the City of Chillicothe, and Mayor Wells, who's had very little that I've ever had a conversation with. Definitely your idea and energy are made that, which is impressive and also intimidating to see what our neighboring communities are doing and how well they're doing. In terms of how we're approaching our downtown, really community-wide revitalization, I wanted to kind of talk about it in broad strokes and talk about, in essence, 3 buckets that we're sort of working through. But the first overall concept that I encourage our city council and our community members to sort of frame up the way they think about downtown is to think, and how anybody can think about their downtown, is that it is a shared community space. So if you think about downtown like it's a park or like it's the city's living room, I find that it gets the community sort of more on board with investment or focus or attention on downtown. There are often struggles with city council, where do we allocate funds? Should it be this ward or that ward? But when we think about it in terms of a shared community space, it seems like it makes it easier to get everybody going in the same direction. And so over the past several years, we've kind of taken 3 takeaways, I'd say, that I just want to touch on. One is the city being an active partner in downtown projects. 2 is just how we think about the downtown's built infrastructure. And then 3 is what I would call prototyping, testing, and being willing to fail. And so in terms of active participation, this is a big and wide-ranging topic. It could be everything from helping to facilitate community development block grant applications, partnering in CRA, Community Reinvestment Act, tax abatements, or it can be as simple as what Mayor Wells is doing and encouraging a Main Street program to develop and then helping that Main Street program thrive, which is what we're doing in Chillicothe. And then it gets very specific into the minutia, literally grain of sand. The past couple summers, we partnered with that Main Street program in Chillicothe. We've literally taken more than 400 tons of sand from our city park, volleyball courts, hauled them downtown, closed off a street, and had a pretty epic downtown volleyball tournament the last couple summers that has drawn thousands of people to downtown. We recognize that we are not like the party planners at the city. We don't do that very well, but we found the people that do. But we do have guys that like to move big machinery and drive sand around town. And so that type of active sort of partnership, figuring out where we can fill gaps and then make sure other people are doing what they do well, has really worked out well. The second thing is built infrastructure, and I'll go in reverse from that one. Talking very specifically, when I got into office in 2016, we had noticed that downtown, all the light posts had sort of racks to hang flower pots from. There were never any flower pots, and we recognized very quickly that with a pretty minor investment, we could get immediate turnaround on just making the downtown look a little bit nicer. So we started there, and we noticed just a little uptick in the individual businesses that were there started thinking about their appearance and putting their own flower pots out and that sort of thing. But we've sort of scaled up from there, and we're very conscious now about making the lived environment very pedestrian friendly, bicycle friendly, and walkable. A lot of that is subtle or almost subconscious changes. It doesn't have to be major sidewalk repair. It doesn't have to be major changes, but installing bike racks here or there. When you paint streets, being thoughtful about maybe there's a good opportunity for a bike lane here or there. And then going forward from there, we had one street in particular that for generations was extremely controversial because it was one way, and half the town wanted it 2-way, and half the town wanted it 1-way. And we put a lot of time and energy into trying to understand how that traffic flow would work for the community. But we really did in the context of pedestrians, not so much moving traffic quickly through vehicle traffic quickly through downtown, but making downtown a place that's more welcoming and safer for pedestrians. And there's a lot of research around what accomplishes that. But in essence, going from one-way to two-way slowed down traffic. We actually removed a traffic light and stop signs, which might be counterintuitive, but actually made it more pedestrian friendly. And it improved appearances. And so we were willing to sort of back up our research, back up the traffic counts, and make this change, which didn't end up costing us that much because it was on a paving schedule anyway. So being willing to sort of modify your built infrastructure to accommodate people who are there is a big one. And then finally, this is something that I just learned about really through the pandemic and in recent years, and that's a couple ways of putting it. One is just being willing to try something and sort of recognize that you might fail. We tried that in a couple different ways. One goes back to when DORA was just getting started, and we were pretty anxious about the implications of open containers on our downtown streets. And so when we passed the rules, we retained a lot of the administration, the ability to decide when and where you could have your cups outside. And so we just did weekends here and there, test them out, see how it went, consult back, do it again. And we've slowly expanded that, and we call that a prototype or a test, just to see how it goes without overcommitting. And going on several, I think we're on year 5 now, of our DORA, might be 6. There was like one St. Patrick's Day that there was a little bit of shenanigans, but I couldn't tell you that we wouldn't have those shenanigans without the DORA. So really that rollout went pretty well. And then I'll close on a prototype that was really our most exciting prototype, which was a prototype and a test of a trolley for the community. And we had, for about a year, worked on redesigning our transit system. And one of the avenues that we found that we could probably get more people to ride our public transit system, but also help and benefit downtown was to have a trolley. But we were really unsure about how it would work. And so what we did was we literally advertised for a few weeks and picked 2 dates in the middle of the summer. And we went and rented a trolley from somewhere in Columbus, had the driver come down. We told him the route. For 2 days, we just ran a trolley route downtown. And that was our test. And so over the course of 2 8-hour routes, 16 total hours, we had almost 800 riders in 2 days. And so we thought that was a pretty good result from our test. But we went into it knowing that if nobody rode the trolley in 2 days, that's okay, because we still learned something from our test. And so we were able to take that data and that information, take it to city council and say, hey, we think having this trolley is a good idea. It's going to get people downtown. It's going to get people using our transit system. But we went into it knowing that any outcome would be actually a positive outcome because we would learn something. And so in a sense, we were willing to fail. But the upside of it was that the test worked out really well. And now I encourage you to come visit downtown Chillicothe Wednesday evening, Friday or Saturday, and buy our trolley. That's it for me.
Thank you. So on the revitalization of Columbia downtown, it's funny to hear the stories for the mayor here, because it sounds a lot like Columbia, and we're not afraid to fail either. So I'm here to tell you today that you can make a difference in your town, even whether you have a program here or not, or if you're in government or whatever. You can make a difference, and I think you'll see why. So Northeastern Ohio, or Columbiana's in Northeastern Ohio. We have a historic downtown, 1805, population about 6,600. We are the birthplace of Harvey S. Firestone. If you've ever visited us, you would know that, because everywhere you turn, there's Harvey S. Firestone. We are a mayor council charter form of government, and the city manager runs the day-to-day operations. We've been doing that since 1974. What's really cool for me, and I'm really blessed and honored, since 1974, there's only been 3 city managers, and I'm one of them. So that's cool, and I've been going on my 10th year doing that. So, and actually, the prior city manager, is around that we can, ask questions also. So, he's available. We do have a healthy mix of residential, commercial, and industrial. We service water, sewer, electric for our utilities, and we have a very progressive city council, planning commission, park board. So about 2012, we did a Main Street renovation with ODOT for a few $1 million in our downtown, about 3 blocks. Put new sidewalks in, bump outs and such, and parking. And then in 2017, we really started working with RCAP, where we started forming business roundtables. We introduced the food truck ordinance to kind of like Chillicothe did. We just thought we'd try it and see what happened, and that worked really well. Prior to that, you could not bring food trucks into our town. We wanted to create like a stroll down Main, and I'll kind of show you that that's kind of a cool thing to walk down our Main Street now. And we did do the designated outdoor refreshment area where you can take alcohol, and we were we held back the reins on that too. We had to get permission to do it, particular events. And we've been doing it since 2019 during COVID. We just opened it up to every day. And actually every day you can do that, but you have to be sitting down when you drink the alcohol. We do block parties. You'll see a little bit about our truck festival. And we really wanted to focus on storefronts. In 2019, we had 9 open storefronts. And, any town that you're from, open storefronts are not good. And this is where you can really take this back home and learn and try to implement and do those little hanging fruits. We did youth engagement, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So here's our downtown. We have fully programmable Christmas lights, 365 days a year. I've got my app right here. We can change them to any color. It's really cool. We also have 3 blocks of XM radio, and it was a $200 investment. We already have the speakers for street fair, so we implemented that low-hanging fruit $200 investment and $26.99 a month, and kind of it's very cool. And actually, the lights will listen to the music and work like a synthesizer too. So we have this everybody has this open or an ugly storefront in their town, right? So in the far left, we had an ugly storefront, had OSB board there that was just rotting away, and we tried to think outside the box. We used a free facade template that we have on our website that any business can use if they're going to change their storefront. Why not use something that works? And we paid a local artist to paint that mural on that OSB board during an event with a roller like that you would use to paint your bathroom. It's unbelievable. And it worked almost immediately. People started saying, "Hey, are you getting a restaurant there?" No, we're not. But if you want to put one there, you can. So started block parties. These are DORA events. If you read my bio at all, I have 17 years worth of wastewater experience. So what that'll get you is learn how to draw a manhole on the far left. And on the right, that is a construction project gone bad in 2022. So that was my other rendition. And those are the only 2 artistic things I've ever done in my life. So very left brain. Okay, so the block parties are very fun. You can see some kids in the background there, grandparents pushing the strollers, and some bounce houses, and it's been really nice. We wanted to focus on filling these open storefronts. An 8,000 square foot building here. we came up with the idea or learned about it in 2019 of pop-up shops. We went to the landlord and said, look, can we do a pop-up shop, 30 days, free rent, free utilities? He thought we were a little crazy, but we might be. I don't know. So check out the date. It's July 8th, 2019. I'm standing there taking that picture. Less than a month, you can make a difference in your town. And all it takes is some communication with landlords. And those people, I mean, it was great. They filled the entire 8,000 square feet. And actually, a couple of them have graduated just a couple weeks ago. One came through planning. So we're a little town. We vote big, though. We've always done that. We've won first place bakery in northeastern Ohio, first place pizza place. Salon Antrim was they had just come to the planning commission. They've been open for 2 weeks, and we had this idea. Well, we're going to make them the best salon in northeastern Ohio. We did it, and she was only open for 14 days. It was absolutely amazing. She was very happy. We did very well with the Birdfish Brewery company in town. We had the sweetest bakery in Ohio. And then I've heard Hallmark Crown Christmas Towns. We did not participate in that. They found us. We have a Joy Christmas Festival of Lights every year. 15,000 people come to visit our park. We have over 1 million lights. It's open 29 days. And you're welcome to come up and check it out. It's pretty cool. And in January of 2020, we were named top 25 Christmas towns in the entire United States, which was really cool. But the biggest one was the Nicest Place in America contest. We woke up in the middle of 2019, and we had already had some of the synergy going with working together and some, with the downtown. And we learned that we were in this contest, and we tried to vote big. My wife and I actually put up a tent in 4th of July in the park. And by 3 o'clock, we were in 3rd place. And 6 o'clock, we were in 2nd place. And by 10 o'clock, we were in 1st place. And we never relinquished that. And that put us into the finals. The Reader's Digest came out, visited us for an entire week. They actually interviewed over 50 people throughout that. We were kind of like an embedded experience. And there you have it. We were named Nicest Place in America in 2019, which was totally awesome. We were on Today Show, Simulcast Today Show with Katie Couric and Al Roker. So that was definitely one of the highlights of my career. We did get the Christmas, the Hallmark Christmas thing, which I think brought this Christmas Angel movie. 2022 award-winning actress Karen Abercrombie came with her film crew and kind of camped out for about 18 days and filmed the entire movie in our city, and it was pretty cool. What it was about, a town that did not celebrate Christmas, and they weren't even allowed to. So the mayor was a bit of a Grinch, and I haven't seen the movie yet, but we weren't allowed to do this. But in February, we kept all of our Christmas lights up, Christmas trees on. The surrounding communities thought we were crazy. I said crazy twice in this, didn't I? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. So February 12th, we all gathered, like 500 of us gathered downtown for this movie for the last scene where the whole community comes together and sings Christmas carols. That movie we released this fall on PureFlix. It's a Christian based. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, panelists. I think that was great presentations, and our tech team is telling me, cross your fingers, that we should be able to play the video. So whenever you're ready, tech team, let's give it a try.
This is a redemption story about reviving a river and its land. A reckoning with the past, a reflection on beauty and possibility, a promise of renewal and the rewards of creation, a vision that is magical, a story of time and the river. Once, the Mahoning River fostered prosperity, the region's very identity defined by the steel industry that existed and thrived because of the river. But with steel's decline, a boundless potential presents itself to us. The keepers and caretakers of the valley's 1,100 square mile watershed. The Mahoning River Corridor Revitalization. A sweeping plan to restore the river and its paths in bold new ways. An auspicious moment to connect, protect, and prosper. We seek a new communion with the river and celebrate its comeback. Our mission is our obligation to pursue and expand the progress already made, to appraise and maximize the ecological and economic benefits that a clean, free-flowing Mahoning River will bring to the region. Because a vital, accessible Mahoning River means endless opportunities for the river itself, the environment it anchors, and everyone who treasures this unique natural resource. The river sculpts the profiles of the communities it runs through, each with a unique personality and potential. Follow its journey and imagine the river reborn. The vision begins at Foster Park in Newton Township, with a full display of the region's natural beauty and recreational amenities. Continue from Newton Falls to Braceville, an invitation to explore and enjoy small town charms and riverfront attractions. Leavittsburg offers whitewater adventure and ever-changing photo-worthy scenery. Warren and Warren Township's mixed-use development options weave through downtown and preserved natural areas. At Niles, the landscape transitions and visual cues anticipate connections to Meander Creek and the Niles Greenway. An industrial buffer through McDonald protects the twisting waterway and offers multi-point access to the wealth of its assets. At Girard, the adventure park beckons nature and recreation lovers to a grand escape. While at Youngstown means a new generation riverfront experience. Picture easy, direct access to downtown and infinite connections to live, learn, and be entertained. We're back to a more peaceful passage at Camel. And on to Struthers, where new and old coexist in remarkable ways. Our last stop is Lowellville. Here, new development expands the riverfront town's historical connection to the river and its natural beauty. We are renewing our covenant with the Mahoning River, repaying the river for the benefits it bestows on us. It's time to promote and protect the river, the land, and the communities where it flows, to be witness to its rebirth and nurture its resurgence, to make it whole, and once again, a river of opportunity.
Thank you so much, tech team. I was studying it, and we really appreciate that. You can see we are going big, and what we're looking to transform our 5 cities in the northeast part of Appalachia. And of course, this starts with a plan. I think our consulting firm did a great job of putting the video together. And certainly with the Appalachian Community Grant Program, there is the planning grants available. So we'll be taking that a step further so we can, really capture all of the opportunities that are available for us within this once in a lifetime investment by the DeWine administration and the elected officials. But certainly partnerships, collaboration, our regional chamber, our Mayor's Association, and Eastgate, we are constantly communicating and working together to bring this long-term project hopefully to fruition. I know it is a competitive process, but we think it's pretty special, so we're hopeful. So that concludes my portion of the presentation, and now I'd like to move into our question and segment of the panels. If there are any questions in the audience, please feel free to come to the microphone there so we can hear your question. And also, I can get us started. But I was fascinated by listening to all the work that the communities here have done. Each of them have their own unique flavor, whether it's the historic building preservation in Caldwell and the trolley flowers in Chillicothe, and then Glenana, nicest place on earth. And that is true because I've gone to the coffee shops there, and it's just a wonderful vibe. Could you tell me, what do you do in order to stay in touch with your downtown businesses to see what they need to continue to thrive? I'll ask each of you.
Gave my phone number. So it's 24/7. I went from not knowing any of the storefront owners to they literally text me every day. And I have a great story. Last fall, my wife and I did some project and we were gone for like 6 weeks in a row. And I got a text from a local storefront owner that said, "Hey, what's wrong? Why haven't you been into the store?" I'm like, "It's cool, I'll be back." So just communicate with them.
I think we do our best to get the flow of information to the organizations that exist, like Downtown Chillicothe, which is our Main Street program. Sort of have those organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, sort of get the pulse and the vibe of the bigger issues that arise, and then we try to be receptive if there's sort of one-off issues, like a sidewalk issue or parking issue, that sort of thing. And we also try to the extent we can, we haven't always been successful, but push out information about the hows and the whys of life. So we recently transitioned the last couple of years to meter paid parking downtown. Pam was kind of forced in that context, but will actually benefit the business owner. We try to push that information out. The same way we go through the chamber, we go through the downtown Chillicothe organization. They have the hearing stakeholders and relatively.
We're a small town, so when I go to the grocery stores, I'm always have the question. We do keep the communication open as well. They're actually now learning to help themselves in the business. So they're planning a fall festival, and they're bringing in vendors because they want to have an umbrella outlay, which is a big thing in a photo op in many places. So I encourage them. Well, they have tons of vendors now, so we are helping business, and they're seeing the value in the things that we've been doing, and that it is all about them. So they're learning to kind of help themselves.
I would just add that because of Caldwell's planning, a very small village in our county, Bell Valley, was interested in also doing some planning. So Extension is doing a planning project with them, and we had a couple of really energetic meetings with those business owners. And no matter what size your town is, it's always important to think about a plan and to think about meeting with those businesses.
Thank you. I was wondering, either of you have an example of once you completed these improvements, what income generators occurred in your town? Like how many more tourists came? Did you increase your population at all? Just what was the overall impact by making these improvements?
We're going to be better this year at tracking everything. It's kind of like we've thrown all this together and it kind of rolls out. At the ice skating rink, I should have brought that with me. We did do waivers. So everyone who came to the ice skating rink, they filled out a waiver. And we had, for our Christmas parade this year, we had thousands. Like it was bigger than our Fireman's Festival, which is one of our biggest events of the year. So I know there has been an increase, and we're going to do better this year at actually tracking that. But like I said, we opened 5 businesses during the pandemic. At a time where businesses were folding, we no longer have an empty building on our square. So it's been contagious. My craziness has been contagious, and even my council was reluctant to see how quality of life projects are valuable. They're on board. We're putting in a downtown speaker system now that's going to play our Christmas music. We're going to. It took me 2 years to raise funds for it and to get them all on board, but we're there. So it's the craziness is going to be moving into the villages beside us.
And to be honest, that tracking is something we've struggled with. I think we have data on how many new businesses have opened, and we can see pretty easily how many storefronts are vacant or not. The sales tax side of thing, which is handled by the county, we can track as well. I think one of the easiest ways, Mayor Wells has mentioned, is just the raw number of people coming into town. So that volleyball tournament, a couple thousand people. We do the same thing with Christmas lights, and just knowing that there's an influx, and then the individual store vendors, many of them are using the point of sale, which they are tracking data really well, and they're able to tell us where how many different states or countries people are visiting from. So oftentimes it's businesses have the best opportunity to collect data. So we sort of see it back from them. But a lot of it's actually just anecdotal, and we're able to just see overall the community economic health seems to be good, and tie up a portion of that. And then, of course, our census numbers. The city of Chillicothe, I think, gained like 78 people in the census or something like that. We took that as a win because the rest of the county had a population dip. I don't know if it's all because of downtown. All 78 of those people in downtown, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we have very few quantitative analysis on it, other than the 9 open storefronts. Now they're all filled. But like I heard, CRA tax abatement. Our community is really growing. We've had over 170 people build houses in the last 3 years. But it's just really kind of perfect storm. Everything's coming together for that synergy. People want to come here, and 100% for 15 years to live in our town. It's kind of a motivator, and it's kind of moved the peg, or moved the needle. And I think that it's just the buzz of the synergy that we see.
And I know we have a question from the chat, but I just wanted to say one thing. I think there's another key word to take, and that's craziness, because I've heard you said, I guess the idea starts out as being crazy, but then it ends up not being so crazy. We thought you could take out 9 dams or do the improvements that you have. So I think craziness is an element we need to think about too. Melissa, you have a question?
Yep, we have a question here in the chat. It says, can you explain further the process of your DORA? Did you have pushback from the community and council members? Do you have any advice on keeping the momentum forward for the vision of the city and helping smooth out the concerns as you move through the process?
So we were a bit of an early adopter, I think, in the state on the DORA, and the good news is for anybody doing it now, there's plenty of roadmaps out there for trying to understand the best approaches. But really, the approach that we thought seemed to work well for us was community conversations, open council committee meetings where there's an opportunity to discuss. And then, when we started, really reassuring the community that we would retain or maintain control of when and where they happen, so that it wasn't just sort of a free-for-all. I think people had these images of New Orleans or other places where Chillicothe is going to be the new Mardi Gras destination. But I think being thoughtful about the perimeter that you draw and the rules that you use, and then leaving the administration the ability to ultimately still have some control about when the events happen. I think we're basically operating 24/7 with ours, but we started off where it would just be a single day. And so we kind of grew into it. And realistically, one of the things that was helpful to get it through is our council people calling up council people in other communities and asking how it's going and getting that feedback. And I don't think I've heard of a community in the state that's had a bad experience with it. Generally, it's drawing people downtown, and not causing extra police wear and tear or that sort of thing.
Ditto for what he said. But we used Hilliard and Worthington. We talked to the law director, talked to the police chief. They have it online. It's very accessible. And then since then, we've helped other communities and trying to help communities in our area. Warren is one of them. They asked me to roadfish. Actually, we went to Warren's council and presented the idea to them. So yes, there's a lot of help out there in whether it's food trucks or whether it's Dora. The small communities work together, so you can always reach out to anybody.
I was wondering if you guys could talk about any relationships you have with your local land banks, and how vacant properties and blighted properties have factored into your downtown revitalization.
Noble County is one of the few counties in the state that does not have a land bank. We investigated it. We took it to our CIC first, also to our commissioners, and they decided that wasn't something they wanted to do. They were active with our former EMA director, Ms. Chastity, though, in the last round of brownfield funding and securing some for some of the blighted properties across the county.
So I'm the chair of our land bank board, so our relationship is pretty good, and on most days. The interesting thing about our relationship, particularly as it relates to downtown, is that our downtown is a historic district, and so we have a specific design and review board that really goes before any zoning. So in terms of demolition or anything else that might happen to a building downtown. So when we identified, there was a round of funding 6 years ago or so. It was, I think, left over from all the foreclosure prevention money. We pulled in a bunch of money, but we actually didn't use any of it on downtown proper, and a lot of it had to do with that historic preservation, which is a good thing. I think part of the charm of our downtown is that we've maintained that historic preservation. But we have the way that land bank city relationship works is the city will, we've done a better job of this in the last 9 months, is really trying to be better about code enforcement. And so I can specifically tell you about a property downtown that is dilapidated, abandoned, blighted. And so we really turned up the volume on code enforcement for that property, which forced a sale. The goal of whether it's land bank or the city code side, the building part, is not to tear down any buildings, but some are so far past economical repair that it's the most prudent choice. So the city and the land bank working together to sort of force the hand of maybe an absentee owner or something like that to either sell or transfer into the hands of the land bank, which can then put it in the hands of somebody else. I think it's probably the best path. If you don't have that preservation layer, I think that the land bank can be really crucial in getting those properties into the hands of people that have a track record of investing and rehabilitating. And it seems likely that you could then layer that with tax abatement, CRA, grant opportunities to really make an affordable situation for folks, especially if there's any kind of tax foreclosure or any other way for that property to end up in the land bank's hands in a sort of really cost-effective way.
We don't have that much involvement with the land bank. I mean, we have a great relationship with the county, but they're focused on a couple other communities within the. So we kind of try to take care of our own, and council probably in 2015 just have been setting a couple $15,000-$20,000 a year, so we can take down our blighted, really, whether it's residential or commercial building that we have to. We're up to about 18 that we've taken down in that period, and we don't want to take them down. We'd rather have them, but there's been a couple that we've had.
And I'm going to echo the same thought as Lance. Really, our involvement is not with the land bank. We have great relationships with our county. So my focus is our Appalachian program. So I'll stick with what I know and let them take care of what they do best as well. So if anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand and then Lisa will come to you. Oh, okay. Great.
I wonder if, especially the three village city leaders, could speak a little bit to the process of your downtown revitalization. Do you see the government leadership as being the initiator, the catalyst to get this going? And if so, at that along the way, do you remain in the leadership role, or is there a shared interaction with, for example, people in your community being actively part of this? And you can expand on my question if you want to.
So I kind of feel like, because I have been quite bold and have made a lot of changes, I do think that it's spreading. And just like with me, I've learned that I have to stop being a leader on everything and inspire those around me that they can do it. You know what I mean? Like, who would have thought? Don Jones kind of took some flack and even said it for like funding ice skating, right? You know what I mean? But it panned out. And I knew like I was either going to be laughed at or if it was going to be a success, and it panned out. And I think that I have a good relationship with our commissioners. And I think we're all coming around to the vision. And we're a small town, and I'm the first woman mayor. And I really had 6 months of crying and trying to prove my way that some of the ideas that I have were going to be good for us, and that I don't want to be a big city. I want to keep our small town, but I want people to see us for what we are. And so I am trying to encourage those around me, and I think it's working. Like with the businesses, they're planning their own events. And we're helping them with the marketing. But I basically said, yes, I love the idea, but I can't be the champion, and they're doing it. So I do think that, I think it's growing the way that we want to see it go. So, and I have crazy ideas that Glenn, partnering with them, she makes it happen. You know what I mean? Like, I have these crazy ideas. She's like, okay, you can fund it this way. So I think, bringing everyone together is what actually makes it all happen.
Thanks for bringing up the trolley again. I'm looking for funding for a trolley.
I have been on the trolley kick, and I found one to buy. I couldn't get anyone to help me, but now we're gonna look at that.
I think for me, I'm thinking specifically about the Main Street program. I was really involved in helping get that launched. I've been on the board since it's started. But I think a lot about sort of sustainability of programs and ideas, and so anything that I can do to sort of help get something launched and then have it go forward in perpetuity is in my mind, I think, a good idea. So it's not so dependent on individuals, but the organizations exist, and so Main Street would be one of those. Right now, the city is working on its first comprehensive plans since the 1940s. And so that's another one where, get something in place that people have a roadmap to follow. And so sometimes it's on the city leadership to get the ball rolling, or to figure out the funding. The city still funds the Main Street programs, but has helped it along the way so it can be more self-sufficient. So I think a lot of times we're at the table, or we're the first ones at the table, but I know we're doing well when we get to the point where we don't have to be at the table. It's just touch points.
Yeah, I mentioned that the ODOT project on our main street. And that was really the catalyst that I think that really started it off in 2012. But we've been blessed by a couple of the developers that have really done a lot of work in the downtown and open storefronts, and it's a natural thing that's happened. But I think that I'd like to think it was because we put some nice things down there. And then we do rely heavily on our chamber. It's historically, it's very, we're very involved, and they run all those events that, so I think it brings that sense of synergy, and everybody wants to help and be a part of your downtown.
Thank you. And I know we're at the 12 o'clock hour, heading for our lunch break. I just want to take a stab at that as well. When you were asking about leadership, that's where we, as your 4 local development districts, I think can provide a resource for you and be that leader that you're looking for. We have experts within our agencies that know their different funding sources, whether that's through Appalachia or economic development districts, Ohio Public Works, environmental. We're just a wealth of knowledge in getting these crazy projects funded for you. We can also assist in, the convening and get people talking, agencies talking, whether it's the private sector, partnering with the public sector. We're just a resource for you. And my sister agencies, as well as myself, we are happy to work with those in our communities. So with that, I want to thank our panelists and thank you for listening.
I don't know about you, but I was pretty excited sitting there thinking about all the ideas that I want in my own community. So that was an excellent panel. Thank you. We are going to break for lunch. Lunch is out in the foyer, and it is a buffet. So you just work your way through, bring it back in here. You can sit down and relax. We don't have anything planned for you over lunch today. So congratulations. You actually get to network. And we will start back up at 12:30 right here. So thank you.
I like to travel a lot. I was going to all these big name tours on places. I'm a big outdoor recreation person. I love to camp and hike and take my kids to just play in creeks wherever. And I noticed there are a lot of similarities between these really well marketed, well visited places and Appalachian, Ohio. So I came back and I started to talk to John about it. We kind of started and weren't very successful at first. Other things came up. This went on the back burner. Well, then COVID hits. And we're seeing this huge uptick in interest in outdoor recreation, which the trend was already headed that way anyway. So we decided that we were going to take advantage of that EPA CARES money and do a study. It's basically a SWOT analysis is what we've done. So with that, I'll just get right into it. So the overview is this was undertaken by our consultant Place Dynamics LLC over an 18-month period. We examined the existing tourism ecosystem, and then they made recommendations for maximizing the growth potential. And the methodology for that were site visits. So the consultant and his team, they visited a lot of attractions and localities across the region, made notes about them, checked out the existing marketing resources around how easy was it, to get around places and find things. They used mobile device tracking, so cell data, to gather information about travel patterns, and they could actually break that down and see where people were coming from and who our demographic was. Were they coming from inside the region, outside the region, and where were we getting more or less participation? So that goes into the demographic. That was, who is coming, where are they going, and what are their interests in, and looking for those similarities and things that we could both, marketing and development. And then they took their findings and made presentations to our regional tourism stakeholders, and we took their feedback into consideration. We had a really great team at OVRDC, a lot of great stakeholders who participated and were very thoughtful and thorough with the information that they gave to us. So we did those, one in the spring of 21 and then one in the fall. So some of the highlights, I don't think that they'll really surprise anyone in this room that outdoor recreation is the primary driver of visitation. Some secondary things that are close behind are agritourism, downtowns like fabulous downtown Chillicothe, or if you're headed east out of here today across 52, check out downtown Portsmouth. It's really beautiful. A really vibrant local eatery culture throughout the entire region, and history and culture, including some really significant Underground Railroad sites, just Appalachia culture in general. It's just really vibrant and interesting to people, especially outsiders, our Amish communities, things like that. Some other things with the agritourism, a lot of family farms. This picture here is Dressback Farms in Ross County, just across the Pike County line. They do a sunflower field every summer, and cooking classes and things like that. So those are the types of things we're coming for. And then the quiet, relaxed, low crowds and unspoiled nature. Now, we love Hocking Hills. Definitely deserves its place in our tourism industry. But our consultant likes to refer to, a little farther west of Hocking Hills as Hocking Hills without crowds. And one of the really interesting remarks that he made along the way was that he was also doing a similar study in Northern California. And something that sort of blew our staff away was that he mentioned that we actually have more to do and more resources that, we could build upon than they even do in Northern California. So I think that is very illustrative of the opportunity that we have in the tourism industry in Appalachia, Ohio. And all the things, that I'm talking about are OVRDC specific, but our tourism consultant also looked at, sort of the outside areas too, because he said it was Hocking Hills. So a lot of these findings can be applied all across Appalachia. So our main takeaways that we really need to work on here are that we need to develop a cohesive sense of place for our marketing. Something we really need to do is, psychologically dissolve our political borders. We need to stop working in silos and thinking of ourselves as one place or another, or one asset or another, and really think about, putting yourself in the shoes of an outside person who comes here to visit. What are they looking for? If you're interested in hiking, and you want to come to Shawnee State Forest, what other places might that person want to visit, or adjacent properties like maybe the Edge of Appalachia Preserve or many Arc of Appalachia preserves that are nearby. So we need to think about that. We need lodging improvements. Boutique lodging is something that we really need to encourage. We don't have enough campgrounds. We don't have enough hotel lodging for people. And if we develop that, because that demand is there, we can actually serve a lot of people. Even in the really small unincorporated community I live in, there is a tiny house Airbnb, and it's always looked up. But people think, oh, well, why would anyone come there? Well, they want to come here for all of the reasons that we're quiet, we're beautiful, there are tons of recreation opportunities here. But one way we can get to that, and it was mentioned before about the Airbnb trainings and things, those are really important pieces for technical assistance to private tourism and marketing development. Help them make those connections, form partnerships, and recommend different places to go. Right into the wayfinding too that was mentioned earlier. Because of our lack of broadband coverage, it makes it hard for visitors to sometimes find, especially when they're out on the road. Here, Shawnee is another good example. You might not have the best cell phone service. So it's really important to have that information out there and easily accessible without the need to be connected. But we do also need broadband improvements because that's an amenity that will bring a lot of things with it and a lot of development with it and enable us to attract even more visitors. Another thing is that to continue to preserve and promote our history and culture, a lot of people, I didn't even know all of the Underground Railroad sites that we have. And it's just incredible, the history and what people have been through and the numerous sites that we have that, you know, just have these incredible stories attached to them. So we need to continue to promote that history and culture. And of course, invest in trail development. This picture here is the Wayne National Forest. We have a lot of great multimodal trails. And actually, to give you an idea of, I like to use equestrian trails as an example, especially here in OVRDC, because ODNR boasts that they have 800 miles of equestrian trails throughout the state. Well, in OVRDC, and this is just a dumb, easy count I did. I know I did not exhaust all the resources. I counted at least 345 miles of equestrian trail alone within our region. We're also home to the top 3 largest state forests in Ohio as well, Shawnee being #1. So we have a lot of trail development opportunities here. And another thing that I want to leave you with are our great holiday resources. I know a lot of us don't want to be thinking about the holidays just yet, but they are going to be upon us before we know it. And this is Gallipolicum lights here. And in OVRDC and across Appalachian, Cambridge, Caldwell, and Portsmouth, and Chillicothe, and all these wonderful places, we have the best Christmas attractions in Appalachian, Ohio. And it's a great driver of tourism. So I encourage you all to talk to your friends and family, you know, get out and visit those attractions as they come out. So thanks a lot.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you all so very much for being here this afternoon. I know it was quite the trek for many of us, so we appreciate you coming down to hear more about how we can advance the region. As was noted, my name is Kennedy Blakely. I am the Communications Manager for the Ohio Mid-Eastern Governments Association, OMEGA, and OMEGA covers 10 counties and 12 cities throughout the Mid-Eastern region of the state, and we have the mission of connecting our communities to resources. So something that happened over the summer within the Omega region, we were approached by several of our tourism partnership and CBB professionals who expressed the desire to kind of get together in one room and talk about ways that they could partner together. And I believe this started just before the announcement of the Appalachian Community Grant Program. So they went right hand in hand. It was perfect timing. And we did start the Omega Tourism Partnership Initiative over the summer. Our first meeting took place in July, and we were honored and so very excited to be joined by Brent Lane, the Senior Executive in Residence for Ohio University. Brent gave a presentation regarding World Heritage Sites and provided our partners and Omega with some fantastic guidance and some tips, and we were so very grateful for his help in this time. So, delving a little bit more into the World Heritage Sites, there are 3 key components that are included in what is called the Heritage Economics Triangle. Those include, first of all, assets. They have to be natural or cultural heritage resources. Natural being more topographical or outdoor recreation opportunities, and cultural, of course, having cultural significance. The second component is your visitors. You have to take a look at your demographics, your segments, and the volume of folks that are visiting these sites. And the third and final component of the triangle is your cluster, which means the visitor experience and commercial and service offerings that you have. Kind of what's going to make those folks want to stay longer in these certain areas, and what else they can do while they're there. So moving on to the Hopewell Ceremonial Earthworks. We are really excited that site is in the second phase, just achieved national nomination at the beginning of the year to be a World Heritage Site. And it includes 8 different areas throughout the state. Some of those are in Newark, which is in Licking County. They are in Lebanon and, of course, in Chillicothe, so right next door. But The World Heritage designation does take years to accomplish, and it's a very arduous process. The first step, of course, is making the national tentative list. Following that, you have to achieve national nomination, followed by UN evaluation, and finally, the World Heritage Convention vote, where these sites are actually voted on and designated. In the United States of America, we currently have 24 World Heritage sites that have been designated. And to be a World Heritage site, you have to have that outstanding universal value. So it has to be something that is going to attract visitors, not just from your state, your region, your country, but from all over the world. And folks do travel a great deal to visit these sites. So as I mentioned, the Hopewell Ceremonial Earthworks is located in central and southern Ohio. And there are currently 1,154 World Heritage sites worldwide. So this is quite a prestigious honor to have one of these designated in our own backyard. Many of these sites are very famous, one of which is Stonehenge. And there's a little example that we like to talk about with Stonehenge. Stonehenge, of course, is beautiful and it's a treasure. And a lot of folks, when they visit Stonehenge, are doing so because they've been touring the beautiful countryside over in Europe, and they've been looking at castles all day, and it's lovely. And they visit, they have about 1 million visitors per day to Stonehenge. They spend an average of 20 to 30 minutes there, but over 50% do not leave the parking lot or get off of their tour bus to go and physically get closer to Stonehenge. And it's thought that that phenomenon takes place because these folks have been looking at castles all day. That was their main draw. And Stonehenge is just kind of, you know, the cherry on top of the cake for them. They're not really there to look at Stonehenge. They're not what we would consider traditional World Heritage Site visitors. However, in our neck of the woods, we anticipate to get a lot of those World Heritage Site visitors, these folks who truly are coming out of their way to see and spend time at these different sites. And you have to combine conservation of these historic sites, education, and economic development in order to really capitalize upon this designation. So in our area, there is estimated to be a 100% increase in visitors to the area within the next 3 years following the designation. There are an estimated 181 new jobs and $12.5 million in economic output between the 3 counties in which this area is located. So that is huge and so incredible. But to talk a little bit more about these World Heritage Site visitors, as I would call them, they're coming from further away. They've typically researched down to the minutia of what they're going to see and what they want to get out of this experience. They can stay longer and they can spend more money. And they want more than just one cultural experience while they're in town. They want to see the earthworks, but they also typically want to see other historic sites. They want to have other experiences, which is where the importance of this to our region really comes into play. Because in our region, we have so many wonderful historic gems that folks will want to visit. We have Roscoe Village. We have the Wilds, which is a fantastic safari park in Muskingum County. If you've not gotten a chance to visit yet, please do yourself a favor and go. It is incredible. We have Morgan's Raid in the area, that path that was taken, Underground Railroad sites, as Jessica mentioned. And we also have Fort Steuben, for example, over in Steubenville. And these are also different sites that are going to draw those visitors and make them stay longer and spend more of those tourism dollars that we really need, especially following the pandemic. So overnight visitors have 3 times more impact than what we would call day trippers. And since these folks are traveling such huge distances to see these World Heritage sites, they're going to be spending the night somewhere. And what you really want is what they call heads and beds. If you can get them to stay the night, you've really got them. So that's the main goal. And the visitors to this site will be passing through the Omega region with, in all likelihood, to get to the earthworks. So they'll be able to stop and spend time and see and eat and take tours along the way. And it will really have a huge economic impact, which is why we were so interested to learn more about it with our tourism initiative. The 2 main demographics that we're really looking for to capitalize upon with World Heritage Site visitors would be senior citizens who have ample time and are often retired and can travel freely and spend more time, and young families, young couples, young married couples with small children, things of that nature, have also been shown in studies to be some of these visitors. So as I mentioned, we are mostly interested in this because it is going to have a huge impact. And we've also discussed how the Intel investment wraps into this as well. So it really feels like a lot of momentum is building, and everything, all of the planets are kind of aligning right now for Appalachia and for the Omega region especially. So we are so excited for that. And just thank you again for coming out today, and be happy to answer any questions you may have.
And Karen, tell us about Muffin Hills.
You're right, it's crowded. So you asked me to talk about how Muffin Hills got here, one more marketing. But here's the kicker, marketing costs money. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that if you've got, as we've all talked this morning about short-term rentals, boutique hotels, things like that. If you've got lodging tax, on your it's for lodging tax collection, make sure that it's for one or more units, not 5 or more units, because your Airbnbs are going to be 1 or more. They're going to fall under, because they're less than 5. They're going to fall into that. You don't have to collect the tax, which means you're not getting any money from those. So that would be the first thing I would recommend is check your ordinance. Make sure it's for 1 or more units, because there are a lot of short-term rentals that are opening all over Southeast Ohio. And actually, when I was driving down here this morning, this is the perfect time of year for our scenic byways. And, I looked past the Morgan's Raid byway, the scenic byway that's bringing you right into the park. It's phenomenal. I'm always amazed. I'm not originally from Ohio, so as somebody who grew up by Chicago, I thought Ohio was just what I saw for my 80 when I drove through. And when I got to Southeast Ohio, I could not believe what a jet. I mean, it's phenomenal. So I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, the marketing. We do digital, social, print, broadcast. There is a program through Tourism Ohio. They have a co-op marketing program that is outstanding. You can make your marketing dollars go twice as far. So I would recommend, and I believe that the webinars for those are coming up soon. Yeah, 19th and 20th. You can sign up for them online. Make sure to attend one because it will really stretch your dollars. So I wanted to show kind of an illustration of what happened during the pandemic. Because everybody was hearing on a regular basis, go outside, take a hike, play outside. They did. And we've got about 1,600 of those short-term rentals scattered throughout the hills. And because most of them are contactless check-in and check-out, they were real popular. So, and we have seen it contract just a little bit this year. I think we'll probably end up being about a 7% contraction, which is good. Because when you get, and this is, these visitor spends is based on the lodging tax collection. That's how we back into that. And you can see what happened. Which is really good news because we had more people and we did our best to kind of spread them out, get them to take on, try different experiences such as our state forest or Lake Hope or Stroud's Run. Just any area where they could enjoy that natural environment and not feel like they were being too close to other people, because that was the whole thing. And also, this is just overnight visitors. Excuse me. We know it's less than 40%. I suspect it's more about 20% of the supposed, I keep hearing 5 million people. We don't have that many beds. So they're clearly not all spending the night because there's not room for everybody. So that's just a fraction of the number of people that are coming in the area. And as we just was just pointed out, overnight visitors do spend about 3 times as a day tripper. However, day trippers do spend money, so it's all good for your community. The taxes and jobs, and let's face it, that's what tourism is about. It is economic development. if you're how you slice or dice it is economic development. A lot of times tourism is the first date for the really big economic development that communities are looking for. To give you an idea of what, this is in 21. Federal taxes, 15 million, state 8.4, and local 10.1. And I think anybody in this room would know that 10.1 million in local taxes is a game changer. And it certainly has been for Hockey County. The total number of jobs that the study said we had, the 1,569, is actually kind of low from what we can tell because it doesn't necessarily include all the entrepreneurs. That's the real great thing about tourism. One of the things I've been about almost 30 years in this business. There's, it's kind of hard as an individual to say, gee, I think I'll open a manufacturing plant. That takes a lot of money. However, if you've ever had a dream of opening a gift shop or an antique store or a restaurant or an outdoor outfitter store, you can do that with tourism and be successful. There's not a lot of industries that can make that offer to young people and entrepreneurs. So I think we have a lot to be proud of about that. So with all those people and all that crowding, which you are absolutely right, it has created a bit of a challenge for us because it's a balance. You can exceed the carrying capacity of any natural area, of any area, man-made or natural. And in a state park, you can exceed the carrying capacity. And I'm sure that if every one of our short-term rentals, cabins, cottages, lodges was filled every day that they would like to be filled, you couldn't fit all those people on Saturday in the park. So protection also became very important because what we saw during the pandemic were a lot of people that were taking their very first nature-based vacation in their life. And it wasn't that people were being malicious, they just didn't know any better. They didn't necessarily know how to behave in nature. And that's something that you have to teach people sometimes. So that's a big challenge for us. But also the preservation park, the balance of that means give visitors alternative things to do. Not everybody has to spend every minute of their time in Hockey Hills and Oak Landscape. In fact, we would not recommend that at all. But we want them to have other things to do. So we've been very involved with the revitalization of downtown Logan. Like we heard this morning about a lot of wonderful, and I got tons of notes. So thank you, everybody that shared your stories. We've been involved with that. And in 2020, our board created the Destination Investment Fund. And sorry, my mouth and my fingers aren't working together. And what that is a fund that was created because the lodging tax, frankly, was coming in faster than it made sense to spend it on marketing. When everybody was full, it didn't make a lot of sense for me to run a TV campaign. Because the last thing we would be doing, people were stressed out anyway because of what was going on, to say, oh, come relax in the Hockey Hills, but there's nowhere for you to sleep. So, we had to be very careful so that we were being responsible. And that did leave some funds available. And I'm incredibly proud of my board for creating this fund because it was designed to enhance the lives of our community. A lot of people in tourism think that your number one customer is the traveler. It is not. It is your community. Your residents are your number one customers. So what we did with this is projects and programs that we're going to will enhance the lives of our residents and provide an additional experience, a new experience for our visitors so that we can distribute them a bit more evenly. This has been done. In fact, just Sunday night, we celebrated the lighting of the old Logan Theater's marquee. I kept hearing Hallmark, and it was funny because that night we were all standing around and we all said, we feel like we're in a Hallmark movie. So I understand that a lot. And I thought it was just because me and my mom have been watching a lot of Hallmark. So we've been able to do a number of projects that have been very helpful for the community. And it also helps us as an organization demonstrate to our community that we can, and that we're not just about trying to it is about heads and beds, but not all. You know, that while the end result is heads and beds, the more important thing is that we're building a community that everyone can enjoy and be proud of. And in addition to that, we realize that in protecting this, because our number one attraction obviously is Ogden Hill State Park. That's nature. I use this example a lot. If, God forbid, a hurricane blew, Disney to Daytona, it would be tragic, but you rebuild it because it's man-made. We get one shot and one shot only to protect that park and those natural assets. So we have started a new initiative that we've just recently rolled out. It is Love Hocking Hills, Visit Responsibly. And it follows the 7 principles of Leave No Trace. We had Leave No Trace come in and do an assessment of our area, including the park, and then they provided us with recommendations. So, and this is something that it wasn't like our idea or anything. We're stealing it from somebody else. But there are several destinations that are going this direction and inviting their guests and their residents to take a pledge. And that pledge says things like, I won't have a bonfire. I'll just have a campfire. I will pick up after my dog. That's a big one. If you've ever been out hiking, it's a real big one. I'll carry out whatever I carry in. I'll be respectful of the other people that are in the area, so that I'm not blasting my Black Sabbath down the trail. So we think that and then but I think my favorite is one time I was in Old Man's Cave, that there was a family and the parents were talking about how beautiful the natural areas were, and their teenage girls were holding their cell phones in every place they could figure out to try to get a signal, which they didn't get. And then they declared, I'm a good girl, I don't deserve this, because she couldn't get a cell phone signal. So we have those two, I hope they never can get a cell phone signal at Old Man's Cave. But we just launched this within the last really about 4 weeks, this Love Hocking Hills and taking the pledge. And we already have almost 300 people that have taken the pledge, and they get a cool sticker with it. But it's, like I said, I go back to its first marketing. Well, no, it's first, make sure your lodging tax ordinance is 1 or more units. Because in Southeast Ohio, our best bet for lodging development is, you're not, Hyatt and Marriott are not eyeing our area to come in and build a big resort. But there's owning houses and turning them into Airbnbs is proven to be very profitable. And that is also just kind of like opening the gift shop versus a manufacturing shop. You can do an Airbnb much easier than you can do a full-blown hotel. So make sure that's in line. And then make sure that you're taking advantage of what Tourism Ohio offers through their co-op marketing program. It is fabulous. We've been doing it for 15 years, and it really helps you stretch your dollars. And even most important, I think what's moved the needle some way the most for Hocking Hills are the press tours that we do. And that we use a PR agency. It's not free, but it's amazing what a really well-written article or blog post will do for your area, because it's completely, it's not a paid ad, and the consumer knows that. We have very, very savvy consumers that are bombarded every minute with marketing messages. So you need to find a way to stand out. And from what I've heard today, everyone in Appalachia, Ohio, has got a fabulous story to tell. So I'll be happy to answer any questions later. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Obviously, our panelists are very esteemed and good at what they do. So first question, give us your single best tip, trick, or technique to spurring new tourism in our communities or your destination.
I would say, there's one word for that, and it's collaborate. If you're not working with the other counties, communities, attractions or entities, you need to be, because that's how, you're you're going to draw people to your destination and to your neighbors, because anyone from the outside that comes here doesn't see Scioto County. They just see Southern Ohio.
So to echo what Jessica just stated, I think that the collaboration is key, and I think that the ACG program is really going to help foster that. Something that I failed to mention in my wrap up earlier was that our communities are so excited to work together and to create a really, really good, impactful, collaborative project to submit for funding. So right now they're working on themes that can work across the board for all 10 of our counties, and how they can work together and what works in with different pieces of each other's region and culture and tourism. So definitely work together with your neighbors, especially for this program. Work together with your businesses, and much like what Karen said, work together with your community. You have to have community buy-in, or it simply isn't going to be effective.
Collaboration is so important. Travelers do not see county lines. I know in our meetings we do, and I get pushback in Hockey County because we promote businesses and attractions in all counties that border us, as well as Hockey. And I sometimes get a little pushback in how do we do that. Lodging tax money that was collected in Hockey County. You just have to kind of fight through that, or don't engage it, because a traveler does not see a county line. What they see is, oh, there's something interesting there that I want to go see and do. So make sure that that's what you're promoting. And also, I know probably a lot of communities are working with if there is a CBB, it's a small one, or you're working with your chamber. And a lot of times their program of work is bigger than the staff can handle right now. Don't miss the opportunity to work if you've got a college or good high school kids that can really maneuver around social media. Can't tell you how influential social media is. And you get together a team of high school kids, or if you've got a college, a team of students that want to take that on for you, because they're already on TikTok, they're already on Instagram Reels. They're so far ahead of it that I gave up trying to keep up on it many years ago, because there's my rule is get people that know more than you do, and then let them do their thing. And you've all got resources, so.
Running a little short on time. Do you have anything in the chat that you need to address before I move on? Okay. So give me one area that you would recommend communities focus on for their tourism efforts. Is that, for example, construction of new recreation spaces or entertainment spaces? Or is it more of the heritage tourism types of construction? Give us that example.
I think the biggest thing actually in our region is just cultivating technology. That's where we need to start. We have a lot of fantastic things to see here, but people are deterred because in a lot of instances, I like to go out and talk to people when I visit our attractions too, especially at Christmas time. It's unbelievable how far people are coming from, and then also unbelievable how far away from the actual attraction they're willing to stay. So I think it's really important right now to encourage that entrepreneurship and build up that boutique lodging so that people have places to stay. Because if people are willing to do this, imagine how much more people we could get in and how many more dollars we could capture if we had those amenities that they need.
So I think there are two very important key components to keep in mind here. The first one is, as I mentioned, this is an unprecedented opportunity in time in our region. We have so many things happening and so many things going for us that we have to jump at this opportunity and we have to act now. Now is the time for Appalachia. So definitely capitalizing on the World Heritage Site, on the Intel site selection, working together collaboratively with the ACG, all of these things working together is how you're going to further your tourism. And also another facet of it that I'm very passionate about is simply having pride in your community. If you think that your town is a great place to live and you're willing to stick around and help make things better, That speaks volumes, especially to outsiders. If you're proud of your community and you think it's wonderful, they're going to wonder what's going on there and want to come and visit and see what's going on.
Social media is the cheapest way you can tell your authentic story. And one thing that Appalachia has in more than any other place in the country is authenticity. And that's what a traveler is looking for. And that's what all consumers respond to are good, authentic stories. So tell the story and use the free platforms to do it.
Any questions in the audience for our panel? Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the panel discussion. We're doing this stuff.
Okay, so another great panel. Can I just say I'm sitting there like with my head blown off by everything that's being discussed. So thank you. Before I move on, I just want to say two things. Juliana, are you back there? We should point her out. She's with Tourism Ohio. And so there was a lot of discussion and talking about what she's doing. So now you see her face. And she does have some of her materials out on the table and outside. So I'll say that for the virtual audience, on her panel sheet or on her pamphlet that she brought, she had the virtual co-op thing that Karen mentioned in her remarks. So please introduce yourself to Juliana. Also, the other thing that I should have mentioned a little bit earlier, Director Carey alluded earlier to mapping and some mapping assets that are being done at the university, Ohio University and at Shawnee State. There are copies of samples out on the table of what you're going to have access to from the researchers. And so these are maps that will show you things like Airbnb locations, bike trails, water trails, hiking trails, historical markers, museums. I think these maps, we also have census data attached to it. They will be available to you once they're done in about 2 weeks, and you'll have that to use as you start your planning with these community planning grants. So keep us in mind as that moves forward. Okay, so we leave the best for last. We always do, just so you'll stick around, right? So I'll invite John Hemmings to the stage, and he's going to try to fend off all your questions for Julia today. So, John?
Thank you, Mista, and good afternoon. I'm John Hemmings. I'm the Executive Director of Ohio Valley Regional Development Commission. We're the local development district here in Southern Ohio where you sit today, and welcome to our region. Got two of my staff. Jessica moved. There she is. Got 3 staff here today. I want to thank them for all their work, and got a former staff sitting over there too. So thank you, Michelle, for being here. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to our region, Southern Ohio. If you have watched, there's a lot of solar farms developing down in this part of the state, and that's because the sun shines brighter in Southern Ohio. So I'll tell you what, we've had great panels today. I've learned a lot, taken a lot of notes. My head's spinning much like a missus about what we've heard, ideas forming in my head. So I think this has certainly been a well worthwhile venture today. I do want to say something. I'm glad to see so many people here from outside of our region and participating. And I know Mr. may say this at the end, but I'll steal a little thunder just to encourage the folks from my region. This is a mobile conference, as in this was held last year for the first time at Nelsonville, Ohio at Hocking College. Mr. said, I'd like to have it in your region this year, so we're doing that. So it will be going to the Omega or Eastgate region next year, and we'll keep moving it around. So I hope the folks here in Southern Ohio will visit those areas as well and see what they have to offer, just like many of you have come here today. So I picked this panel when Mr. asked, what panel would you like to do? And I said, I'll take this one. I got one speaker to introduce. And I probably don't need to have any questions for her because I'm sure you have many for her. Now, I've been told the Appalachia Community Grant Program guidelines are not out yet. that was even as of yesterday when I talked to Julia. Now, she might surprise us and tell them here they are, might surprise us today, but I'll let her tell us if she has those. But I know we're very interested, all of us, in what those guidelines look like. But I think she is going to share what she's able to share this afternoon about the program. And Julia is the, as you heard John introduce her, she's the program manager and chief of staff at the governor's office of Appalachia, and great asset for our region. She's a great value, and the other folks in GLA are for the local development districts. And I want to echo what was said earlier. However, the local development districts can help our region and our communities. We're here to help. So do not hesitate to contact us. And I know that was said, and we have a great relationship with the GLA. So I want to introduce Julia Hinton from the Governor's Office of Appalachia, and she's going to tell you about the what makes a good project and as much information as she is able to tell us. So Julia, come on up.
I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me right now. Sure. So the guidelines have not been released yet. We were really hoping, and we were so close. We're still very close to these being released, but I will say I'm feeling very confident about this process because Director Pollock and Director Carey have been very thoughtful and taking the time to get this right, because this is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime investment. So we appreciate your patience with us. And I hope that once they are released and the process begins, that the resources that we're going to be able to provide and the way that we have tried to set this up, that you will find that they are user-friendly. That's my goal as much as possible, because these are still ARPA dollars, and my job is to make sure that we follow OBM rules. And Austin and Madison and I spend a lot of time making sure that the money that we are presenting will not be returned to the federal government. So that is just my little caveat to what I'm about to share. And I'm going to share as much as I can, which is pretty much everything. But just know that these guidelines are not finalized 100%, and there is a chance that some of this could be changed at the last minute. I'm going to start with just kind of a brief overview of the program. Some of you have maybe heard some of this. I'll just reiterate it really fast. And then I'm going to kind of go to the rubric, and I'm going to just highlight some pieces from the rubric, because our goal, when these guidelines are released, we will release the guidelines. We will release the rubric for both planning and implementation grants. We will release an RFP for planning resources. And we'll have a resource page that will include some of the information Mr. shared and other resources available just to make this process a little bit easier for everyone. So of course, this is the Appalachian Community Grant Program. Is from House Bill 377, and it is for the 32 Appalachian Ohio counties. And we will be providing 2 grants, planning grants and implementation grants. I'm going to start with the planning real quick. Kind of tiered them into different resources being available. We will be providing through an RFP process where we're going to procure planning resources, planners for the region that anyone in the 32 counties will be able to utilize. In addition to the resources that we will be able to use from our local development districts, and I just want to emphasize even more how important using your local development districts is. Our relationship with them is, and I use the word superior and kind of laugh, but the other 12 Appalachian states are very jealous of the relationship that we have with our local development districts. They are a tremendous resource. We work together very well. We work in the region very well, and it is, we are very lucky in the state of Ohio to have the 4 LDPs that we do. So please, please, please be sure to use that resource as well. And then we will also be providing planning grants up to 250,000 per county, not necessarily one county grant, but 250,000 has been set aside, and we do. Director Mahalik does have the ability, if needed, to allocate more, but we think that's a pretty good start to help with the capacity in your communities, because we know that capacity is an issue. It's been an issue in our office. We're very lucky now to have Madison on staff and Austin to help us through this grant process, because it's a lot on our end, and I know it's a lot on local. So that's just a little bit about our planning grants. The grant application, once it is open, hopefully in the month of October, we'll probably have about a month-long process for once the application is open for you to apply. And then we'll not have another round for about another year. We're expecting the next round to happen in October of 2023. And the reason why I'm kind of bringing this to light right now is we are encouraging you, even though you can apply for implementation grants, because there is funding set aside. 50 million was set aside for this first round for implementation projects. We are encouraging everyone, even those that have good plans in place. I know there's a lot of you that have done a lot of work with other projects, with power projects, with ARC, with other pieces. We still are going to encourage you to use the planning time. And it may make more sense when you understand the rubric, because we want you to think regionally. We want you to think larger scale, and I just am probably going to say it till I'm blue in the face. It is really important that you take the time to plan and do your planning as much as possible. So, but implementation, it will be available, but only 50 million. So you also need to keep in mind you'll be competing for 50 million versus the remaining funds that will be available for the next round for implementation, which is a much lower cost. Okay. For the development grants, so eligibility, the grants are very similar to our ARC grant process. We are hoping that it'll be local governments, nonprofits, and education institutions also will be eligible. But those nonprofits and education institutions are going to need to have written support from the local unit of government as part of that process. We really feel that it's important that all projects are, as we heard in this last presentation, community driven, because the communities are our best resource. So we're really hoping that is a part of this. Want you to think about the region-wide scale and impact of your projects. Want them to be evidence-based, supported by your communities, complement current and catalyze any future economic development, and include a public-private partnership. That can look in many different formats. It's important that these projects are sustainable, economically sustainable, and we want to make sure that they're transformative to the region. And maybe for John and even Director Mahalik say this several times, transformation can happen on a local level, but transformative can also help, happen, spread out after those little processes or happen in your region. You'll start seeing a wave of the transformation, and that's what we're hoping to just kind of create a wave. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of what I'll share for what's in the guidelines. And it won't be, I don't think that you'll have too many surprises if you've read House Bill 377. We very much closely followed that. And again, we're very much closely following the OBM rules and regulations, because we are going to have to report these dollars to OBM. So keep in mind, we're very aware of that, and that's probably what's made my eye twitch the last couple of months more than anything. So we will have those requirements. How How many of you have worked with your LDDs recently and gotten into our new application for our area development funding and been on Salesforce for an application? Michelle Heyer was making me laugh because she's like, is this going to be a presentation? And I'm like, no, but we are going to use Salesforce, and it is a much better system than anything you've used with our office before. So FYI, these applications will be in Salesforce, and our LDDs are trained in Salesforce and will continue to be your resource for the Salesforce application. So hopefully that is a simpler process. And one of the things that we've tried to do as we were building the application is to build in a lot of the reporting requirements and the pieces that will be on the back end. So just know that there's been some thought around that as well. So within our application, we'll have a, when our guidelines are released, our rubrics will also be released for both the planning and for the implementation grants. And there's, I think, about 60 points is what you have to have for the planning grants. It's a much simpler application. We want everyone to plan. It's a simple application. We want everyone to take advantage of the planning grant. You'll hear it one more time, I'm sure, before we're done. And then the implementation grant, it's, I think, about 150 points, and 90 is the number. So I'm going to try to share some of the highlights of things that will help you get points for that implementation grant. So I'm not talking necessarily about the I'm not necessarily talking about the planning grants when I share what's on this piece of paper in front of me. I'm more sharing what's going to be in the implementation rubric. So grants broken into components. Some of you are probably aware of this if you've read House Bill 377. And those components are the community, infrastructure, downtown development. We've called it many things, and that's because there wasn't a great word for infrastructure in our everyday lives. Really is water, sewer, broadband. There are lots of dollars available, and if you have a water, sewer, broadband project, get in touch with your LDD. We've got lots of resources for water, sewer, and broadband projects coming down the road. So those aren't necessarily what these funds will be spent on. But infrastructure is kind of the word that we got stuck with because that's what was in House Bill 277. So just note that. But these are everything we've talked about today, all the great ideas that are already going on in your communities. These are the trails. These are the tourism projects. These are the downtown projects, the trolleys, and the exciting things that we heard everyone speak about today. So that's something that you will get points for if you have a project that is visible economic development and creates a vibrant community. That's kind of in that downtown bucket. We want to see that you have specific plans prepared for the infrastructure that's going to help in that area. The other two areas are healthcare, which we know is important, increasing healthcare access or services. And we feel it's important that you establish that alongside a partnership with a provider, essential partners that know the healthcare field. And again, this is why collaborating with an LDD is so important. We want to make sure that we're putting projects in places where they're needed. We don't need two school-based health clinics right next to communities, right next to each other. And I think that's where the planning, I'm not going to say it, the planning will help make sure that we are spreading the resources where we need them to go. And then the last component that you can get points for is the workforce component. And really this needs to be targeted. We're a little bit limited for the workforce due to the OVM rules and regulations. So we want these to be local and regional projects, and you're partnering with employers, and it is filling the need of the gaps that you have in your area. Additionally, I know it's important that There's safety service training, and that is also going to be in it. Substance abuse will also be recovery to work will also be a workforce potential project. The next kind of area where the guidelines and the rubric will be focused on is hitting that economic impact and transformation, and that's the public-private partnerships. Really are key. Looking for existing partnerships and building off new partnerships or building off these existing partnerships, and making sure that all your partners that you include. A lot of times we see applications. I've read a lot of power applications, not necessarily from Ohio, where partners are thrown into the mix, but there's no, once you go through the application, you don't see where those partners really have a defined role, or where those communities aren't really a piece of the project. And you want to make sure that your partners and your private entities have a role in the project. You also want to make sure they're relevant to your project. You don't want to just ask a business partner to kind of, hey, my partner on this project and have no relation to what you're doing. So keep that in mind as well. It needs to be relevant, it needs to be impactful. Evidence-based, we want to see that the concept for your project's been proven based on strong evidence. An example I can think of this is you want to make sure your community's been, addressed, that you have support from your community project that you're looking for. Or you've been thoughtful that this is something that you're wanting to see. Sustainable. Probably you've heard John Kerry say that we're looking for projects to be at least 20 years sustainable. That's kind of our benchmark for what we think these projects should be able to do. So visible, lasting impact. And then we're going to be looking for a sustainability plan that you've thought about. Heard the first presentation this morning talk about the work that it takes and how you can use volunteer groups. You want to make sure you've thought about those parts and pieces if you're talking about the trail project along those lines. Quality of life is another piece that we'll be looking for. Will your project bring quality of life and to people in the region that you're going to help attract and retain the people that you have in your community? That's really important as well. Existing and future development. How will your project impact or complement existing economic development activities and your projects? And then the community impact. All projects, activities will directly impact or be physically present in the communities that you're including in your application. So we want you to think large scale, but we don't want you to include the county next door to make your project look like you're large scale, covering more region. We want it to be impactful for both that county and your county, or your community and your community next door. So make sure that if you will see when you see the rubric that you'll get points for certain things. If you're going to include more counties, more communities, make sure that you have some thought. Again, this is where the planning will come in and into play to make sure that you're able to include those communities and counties that surround you. Because I have heard it as we've talked to communities and counties, there is a lot of similar type ideas in the area, and there is going to be a lot of, if you just reach out and you talk to your communities, you'll see that there's going to be a lot of okay. Regional impact. So we will be looking at the geography of your project, and you will be able to get more points in your project depending on how many counties or communities. This is where we're really trying to get you to think outside of your one project. We do have a tendency to look at our county lines, to look at our community lines, and we're wanting you to look just a little bit further. So look beyond that, look at your neighboring communities. Who else is thinking of doing a bike trail? Who else could help connect a underground railroad type project? Again, this is where the planning will be very helpful. Planning partnerships based on planning activities. You're going to be looking for plans for the implementation grants. So again, this is where have you utilized the procured planners that we will have available? Have you utilized the resources of the local development districts? And have you given some thought around the planning? We will be looking for a planning document that includes this. Community effort, document your community support, involve your community, make sure this is something that they want to see too. And I know there's a lot of this going on now. I've read about it, I've seen the excitement, so I don't think this will be too hard to get to, but be sure to keep that in mind. And another thing you'll be able to get points for is the economic distress. We will be looking for, we will be giving distressed communities and counties, both under EDA's definition and ARC's definition, at-risk communities and counties as well. Because those are the parts of that maybe need a little more hand-up to better mind. And the application will be fairly simple compared to an Appalachian Regional Commission application that you maybe have been a part of. It'll have some similarities, but it'll be a little bit more simple. The budget is where, when you're doing an implementation grant, you're going to want to be clear and detailed. You're going to want to include contingencies because we know that we have till October 2026 to spend this, and we have seen an increase in costs for construction. So you want to think about those contingencies when you're planning. And then we will also have the reporting outputs and outcomes that we will have to follow due to the ARPA nature of the dollars. So we'll want to you'll want to be thinking about what communities are you improving and including, what jobs might you be able to create with this project. And we will build that in. It's built into the application. So hopefully it will be an easy thing for you to think about, but just know that you will have to report on it. And then other funding sources. There is no match required for these dollars, but you will get points if you are thinking bigger and broader and you are partnering with other projects. I heard Ambler mentioned today with ODNR. I heard historic preservation. We have lots and lots of resources that can just help stretch these dollars a little bit further. We will provide as much guidance as we can through the local development districts, through our office, through our webpage, to all the resources that are available out there. So we encourage you to think about, there are more dollars now with the local development districts. We've also been blessed with more federal funding. So again, go to your LDPs. They're a great resource to figure out how you can double down funds for these projects. Okay, I think I feel like I've ran 5 miles. I think I got through most of it. I hit on some of the highlights that I hopefully will be helpful, and it will all maybe make sense when it is released. But John?
Okay, we have questions here from the audience.
John, I'm going to do the one in the chat first to get that out of the way, because I do think it's, some people probably want to know this. Just for clarity, in the language of House Bill 77, it says that there's $15 to $30 million set aside for planning grants. But you, I think, just articulated that the max is going to be 250,000 per county. Do we have that right? Or could you?
So that is a piece of the planning that we'll be providing. So we are also procuring planners for the use of all applicants, all 32 counties. And I don't know what the total will be spent on the planning, but we have set aside up to 30. That maybe clarify it for everyone or questions around.
I had a question, said 250,000 per county. What about the cities within the counties?
So right now we have 250,000 set aside for each county, and it can be broken up between the cities and communities. We will be looking to make sure that you are working together. This is again the planning process. Think about the planning process. How can you work with your neighboring community? Right now it's 250, but it's not necessarily one application. It could be multiple entities.
So for example, I see the mayor of city of Jackson there. So you have the city of Jackson, the city of Wellston, and the county of Jackson. So between those three entities, they would have $250,000 available for planning?
That's correct. And think of it this way too. You could have Jackson County, Scioto County, Lawrence County, and other counties stack those 250,000 and do a large plan as well.
Okay.
I have a serious question. Should we apply for planning grants? No, just the comedian coming out of me.
That's okay.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, I would recommend that. It's just a case. Okay.
Just to follow up, if my arithmetic is correct, if we have 32 counties and there's 250,000 allocated for each of them, that comes up to $8 million. And then there's
up to 30 million set aside for planning. So we could use more. The director has the discretion to use more if needed.
Thank you.
And then also know that we will be procuring planners from that 30 million as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there going to be similar allocations per county for the implementation money?
Right now, no, it'll be a competitive process for the implementation. We've not set aside, but we've also not set amounts of what the project costs would be, other than we are hoping that projects are $1 million or over for implementation. We hope that we don't get it. If you have a project that's less than $1 million, go through our regular ARC process through your local development district.
So how critical is planning?
Pretty critical, Jeanette. Thanks for asking.
I do have a question. Would it be better? We've been talking to a lot of our communities about multiple activities to get to that transformation. So maybe trails, downtown redevelopment, maybe partnering with some healthcare providers or partnerships with some workforce development folks. Is that still the advice we should be giving our communities?
Yes. That's a great question. The components that we were talking about, you get points per component. So if you are thinking larger, you're thinking, you've got a couple downtown projects within your county, and you've got a healthcare component that would go, and you have a larger workforce project that would also cover a couple counties. I'd like to see all that together, and we'd like there again. This is why I think the planning is really important, because we don't want you to kind of be in tunnel vision, and this is where again the LEDs will be able to help pull all of those projects together.
Hey, Julia. I know we've talked a lot about the LDD making connections, and we'll certainly do our best to do that. But I was wondering, will GOA have any flexibility to, after the application is closed, if you see projects that maybe kind of miss some connections, would it be possible that you would come back and ask applicants or projects to link up into larger projects?
We do hope to have sort of what I loosely will term a curing period, where we will look to see, is there duplication of projects? Are things that could have been partnered together? And we should be able to do that during the planning process as well. So we will be looking for that. We also will have the ability, because of the way the application is set up, if there are things in your project that you've submitted, if you have several different types of activities, say you have a downtown project and a bike trail project and a workforce and healthcare project, but there's like a couple activities for one of them that doesn't necessarily meet the muster for the OBM rules and regulations, we can pull just that piece. So it won't affect your entire project. And we will be looking for that throughout the process.
Can you elaborate any on the workforce development end? I'm the workforce development supervisor for Noble County, and we have a lot of money through WIOA, and I just want to see what the difference is because we're not spending what we have, and we send a lot of money back. So I guess I'm curious what you see the difference being in these.
You know, I don't see there being a difference. It's an eligible activity. Workforce is an eligible activity. So you're going to want to look at things that maybe your WIO dollars can't necessarily. And I know that there are a lot of types of programs that necessarily the WIO funds won't be able to fund. So hopefully that whatever it is that you are looking for will complement a program already in place with WIA, or you know, maybe it's specific to getting equipment to do a special training for a business in your area, something to that effect. So I don't see it as a rival type of project. I see it complementing and maybe even just going above and beyond what can be funded with those dollars. Again, it's a little more limited just because of the what's eligible and not eligible. But I see it kind of complementing that. I mean, yes, you do have. There are a few screens attached. I have a workforce background. I remember those screens. Yes, but hopefully it's something that you know, an entrepreneurship type program to help with the tourism of a project that you're doing in your area. I mean, I know one thing. We have not even begun to think about the types of projects that could happen in the region. So we've tried to leave it flexible enough that sky's the limit as long as it fits inside of the eligibility requirements. But I think you'd be surprised how much flexibility there is in that. So we'll work with you, and this is where taking time to do the proper planning, you should be able to make sure that every piece fits.
So Julia, thank you for sharing what you can share with us today. Working in a kind of edge community, one of the things that I know that we've come across is folks from outside of Appalachia, or maybe if you're in John's, maybe outside of Ohio, Appalachia, who want to partner with you. We, you know, for instance, the Buckeye Lake area, you know, some of it's in Licking County, but there's some really big opportunities in that area, right? So how do we document the partnerships there around projects like that? In a way, we understand no money would go outside of Appalachia, but do you want us to be sharing those broader partners too?
I could definitely see public-private partnerships that, you know, that's an example I can think of that would not necessarily fit the bill. I know there is a lot of that, but the projects must be within the 32 Appalachian counties. So you can have partnerships, you can have Austin, Madison, and else you can think of along those lines in the region. That's the region. It can. They can definitely partner.
Yeah, just a question, Julia. Thanks so much for being able to share what you have today. This is really inspiring. One of the big priorities is downtown revitalization, and downtown building owners, would be key to that, and that would be the private side. Do you have a sense for what your expectation would be in terms of the level of cost share match with building owners on building renovations in terms of how much public, how much private?
I don't know if we're necessarily looking for like a match percentage. We're just looking for that true partnership happening. Or is the public partner and the private partner really complementing each other within the project? So I'm not sure that there's like a set aside specific match that we would be looking for, because one, we're not looking for match dollars. We're really looking more at the actual partnership.
That, for someone, I've been a mayor for 12 years, and public money for private in our communities hasn't been something that we've really dealt with before. So this is really exciting that there's going to be an opportunity to help some of those downtown building owners.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting to hear all the types of projects that are going on that we can build off of that are happening around the region. So.
We do have a couple of questions here in the chat we want to hit on. And so first one is just to go back to that ceiling on implementation grants. I think you alluded earlier that at least 1 million, is what you said, or no more than 1 million.
The minimum amount of project that is submitted, the minimum amount we would be looking for is $1 million.
So
that's the floor. There is no maximum at this time.
So just for everybody to clearly hear that the minimum for an implementation grant is $1 million. There is no maximum. Second question is, if you have a project that portions of it are ready to implement, but some components need planning, can you propose a phased project?
That's a good question. I would take the time and not take the effort to maybe apply in the implementation project first. I would take the time to do it all together after the planning's been completed. So I, again, would recommend the planning happen first. I'm a broken record, I know.
Julie, I've got a question. We talked earlier that the talk was being crazy. How crazy would it be if we had projects that cross LED borders?
It's funny that you brought that up because I was thinking that during the last presentation. I think that we have the perfect LEDs to cross borders and to do this type of work. So I would love to see projects crossing the LED lines.
Okay, so I'm one of the crazy ones, so I'll just boldly ask. So I have a downtown revitalization plan that's ready to go. We have our plan. We've already been meeting with our schools, with recreation, all of that. I feel like we're ready. I feel like we have planned. And of course, I'm ambitiously wanting to go to implementation. Are we still one of the ones that need to get the whole?
So let me share this thought. So the applications hopefully will open up this month, right? And once we have those final guidelines, remember what I'm sharing today is not the final version. So I hope that nobody quotes me specifically on any of this because there is a chance some of it will change. But if the applications open up in the month of October, you're not going to have an opportunity to apply for a planning grant again. It's your shot for the planning grant, right? Because the next round of applications is open in October of 2023. And then you have until October of 2026 to get those funds spent. So you may have projects that are ready to go, but you're going to be competing for $50 million this round versus $150 million next round. And the resources that you could get in this first round, the for free from our office planners, the LED resources that we're providing, the capacity building within your community to work with your communities next door that might be able to complement that project that you have that's ready to go. That would be my recommendation. Even if, and I know a lot of projects are ready, and we can accept implementation grants, but my recommendation is just think a little bit bigger and think about your offer. Don't lose your chance to do some planning and think even bigger than what you've been doing. Or, you know, maybe there's something that you haven't thought about that corresponds with the county next door that you could be a participant. Take that opportunity if you can.
So we'll work on my patience.
I know patience is hard. It's hard. I get it. I see why John picked this.
Yeah, just a quick question about government-owned buildings. So let's say we own a courthouse, we own a community center, we own maybe some other buildings. Are those going to be eligible?
They are not eligible. They are not eligible. We cannot do projects that are courthouse service related. Projects like that are not eligible under ARPA.
Kind of to follow up on Mayor Johnson's question, we've been asked in our region about putting together an emergency shelter that could also serve as a cooling and warming station for multiple communities that would be owned by like a volunteer fire department or a fire district. Would something like that be eligible as a much larger project or component of a project?
I would recommend you take the time, think about that through a planning process, and work with us and OBM to see if that would be eligible. My gut is that would not be an eligible project. Again, that's why I think the planning is helpful. We can make sure that ideas that might be kind of stemming up, you know, we can work with you, our office. We have staffed up a little bit, so hopefully, if you can't get a hold of me or our director Carrie, you can get a hold of Austin and Madison. They're great resources too, and we can help you answer those questions. But I do not believe right now with just the fact that
Okay, I do have a question here that's unique in the chat. And I will apologize now, the chat is overrun with questions, and so we will not be doing all these questions. So I'm managing this. Let's say for the applications that come in, will the grants be ranked in order, or are they first come, first serve? And this is, I think, planning grants is what they're talking about.
there will be a deadline for the planning grant applications as well, so they won't be a first come, first served basis. And again, I think we tried to make them not so super competitive. We're hoping that we can provide as many applications, award as many applications as possible. We also will have procured planners and LPD resources as well. So.
Okay, Julia, we've shut down the chat. It's 2:05, so I've made an executive decision.
If you do receive more questions, send those to Madison and Austin and I, and we will make sure that we have a Q&A page available. We'll also be in the development email. Is it appalachia@development.ohio.gov? That is another place where we can send questions that we can try to answer. Again, we will have a resource page available that will have all the resources, the asset mapping that OU's been doing at Shawnee State, and also, hopefully be able to answer all the questions that are coming in.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You said to go to appalachia.ohio.gov, and there's a way you can incorporate questions, submit questions. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
I would just add real quick, since I missed the shutdown questions, that the local development districts do have consultants in place. Our two are sitting over here, but I know the others have people in place to help as you start forming these plans. So certainly do not hesitate to contact the LDDs about those resources we have. And we'll turn it back over to Mr. But one thing I'm not clear on is planning important? I missed it. Your mic.
I told Julia I was going to make a joke about planning at the end, but I think we're over that at this point. Yeah. So here's a couple key words that I want to have everybody take away. First of all, have you ever been in a room and heard the word Hallmark so many times in your life? Okay, right? Hallmark. When have you ever heard that people call you crazy? And that's a great thing, right? So you're all in good hands. But really, in reality, I walked away today with a list of places I want to visit that I haven't been to yet. I hope everybody else has that same list. I also walked away with the words collaboration, momentum, and opportunities. So I'll take you back finally to what I started with today, right? What got me here today will not get me there tomorrow. So I'm sitting here and I'm absorbing all this thinking I have a lot of great new ideas. I've met new people, and I surely hope everybody in this room feels the exact same way that I do. So I'll end with that, and I'll give you the housekeeping things, which are no fun, but drop your name badges off in the basket out back. An email will be forthcoming. Please, please, please fill out that evaluation, because when we do this again next year up north somewhere for our gang up there, we want to make sure that we're hitting things that you all find helpful. And once again, thank you to all 4 of our local development districts. A huge thank you to Mackenzie for all of her hard work, and the 2 guys in the back, Matt and Elton. So enjoy your most beautiful drive home this afternoon. So thank you very much.